This is Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily with Andrew Hustler Paterson and Michael Remis.
Hey, what's up, gang? Welcome to another edition of Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Hope you had a great weekend. We have an absolutely packed Monday show today coming out of the weekend. Tough overtime loss by the Winnipeg Jets to the Toronto Maple Leafs to snap their winning streak at 4. And they are right back at it tonight in the Windy City. A very special night in Chi-Town as Jonathan Toews, Blackhawks legend, returns to the United Center as a member of the Winnipeg Jets. Toews actually just finished up a news conference there. Jay Zawaski in Chicago is going to join us in about half an hour. And we'll, as I say, the audio is just coming in, but we will have some of Toews for you a little bit later on today on the program. Of course, wild weekend in the National Football League. We are down to the Final Four. It is the Broncos and the Patriots and the Rams and the Seahawks still alive for the Lombardi Trophy. Connor Rabchak will be in. We'll talk some Jets, but we'll also get into the football in the second hour of the program. And we'll set up a huge week for the Winnipeg Jets with Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press. We've got a couple trades in the NHL to talk about and a busy 3 days or so for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I'll just tell you, Bomber fans will be pleased to hear Patty Neufeld is back. Sergio Castillo and Jamison Sheehan are back. And Ed Tate just tweeting out in the last half hour or so that good news on the Trey Vavel situation. Ed Tate, Trey Vavel will be back with the Blue Bombers in 2026. The CFL's most outstanding rookie and most outstanding special teams player tried out for 6 NFL teams, but will remain in Winnipeg. He has 2 years remaining on his contract with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. So the roster continuing to take shape ahead of CFL free agency in a couple weeks in early February. So we'll touch on that with Connor as well, I think a little bit later on when he joins us. But lots of Jets talk, and we will talk NFL as well. And, of course, we've got the national championship game tonight. But I think our eyes are going to be on the United Center and see if the Jets can start another winning streak and keep the points coming as they try to climb back into the playoff race in the Western Conference after a couple months that really put them behind the 8 ball. Listen, I'm going to bring in Michael Remis right away. I do want to thank the sponsors that make WST happen each and every day. Of course, our partners at CoolBet. Of course, the Winnipeg Jets. Next WST Jet game is the final game before the Olympic break. February 4th, Montreal Canadiens. Grab your tickets now and join us. Man, we had a great time snapping the streak a couple Fridays ago against the LA Kings. WinnipegJets.com/WST to join us in Section 316 for the game on February 4th. Also want to thank, of course, our friends at Princess Auto, Chud's Power Sports, the Clean Line, Chud's Power Sports, Clean Line. Clean Line lines up on all of our socials as they are each and every Winnipeg Jets game day. And our friends at Uptown Alley, Canadian Club, St. Vital Dental Center, Rollies Transfer, Manitoba Battery, Boston Pizza, Royal Sports, Little Brown Jug, the St. B Mega Millions Lottery. And we'll get to a why not question of the day for Not Autocorp at Waverly and McGillivray. Michael Remis, what's up? How's the weekend?
Yeah, busy weekend. Spending a lot more time in rinks, shuttling kids around. I've entered that stage, but very fun weekend. NFL playoffs, Saturday and Sunday, the all-day games. I mean, I'm gonna miss it. We just had 2 great weeks of playoffs, and the Winnipeg Jets, while they did not get the 2 points on Saturday, very, very entertaining game against Toronto and a fantastic atmosphere with Jets and Leafs fans at Canada Life Center. So A little cold, but staying warm inside watching TV.
Yeah, I mean, let's not even talk about the weather. And whatever you do, don't look at the forecast for the rest of this week. Let's just leave it there, and be happy that it's a road game tonight. But with big home games, I mean, St. Louis tomorrow, really tough back-to-back in two different cities for the Winnipeg Jets. While St. Louis, who got shut out 5-0 by the Oilers last night, will probably burrowed up in the Fairmont or the Delta downtown, getting ready for this one tomorrow against the Winnipeg Jets. And then, of course, the Stanley Cup champs are here a little bit later on this week. Paul Maurice and the Florida Panthers on Thursday. And then I think Detroit on Saturday. So, listen, we know what the Winnipeg Jets have to do. They got to stack wins. And this is a big one tonight. But, of course, tonight, Remo, as much as it's a big Central Division battle and two teams that are struggling to try to climb back into realistically challenging for the playoffs, this game tonight is all about the return of the Jonathan Toews. And as I said, we're going to get the audio coming up. We'll hear a little bit from JT, who almost scored his fifth straight game. I was still waiting for that horn for about a minute after that play late in the game. Fortunately, it went off the post and the crossbar. But the Toews return to Chicago is the story tonight, certainly in this game between the Jets and the Hawks. But also, I'd suggest one of the biggest stories in the NHL outside of the big trades that were made in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, we have had some big trades. Yesterday, Rasmus Andersson going to who? Of course, Vegas Golden Knights. And Kiefer Sherwood going from Vancouver to, of course, San Jose Sharks, who I guess they're contending. No, the rebuild going pretty well with Macklin Celebrini. But yes, the number one story, at least here for this game, Jonathan Toews returned to Chicago. What an incredible career he had there, winning 3 Stanley Cups with the Blackhawks. And he's playing hockey, the best of his season, as you mentioned, scoring in 3 straight and the double doink. 2 double doinks in that game on Saturday for the Winnipeg Jets. He thought those were in. They were not. And he's on power play 1. He's, again, playing well since this Christmas break. It's exciting. I'm curious what kind of ovation he's going to get, the ceremony, and we do have some clips coming in, so we'll get to those in a second. But the Jets pulling out all the big stops with the interview with Sarah. She's going to be there with TSN as well for their coverage. And they had a nice return for Patrick Kane a couple of years ago. We'll see how it goes for Jonathan Toews.
I can tell you that Sarah and her team will have an amazing episode of Runway to come out of this trip with the club out to the Windy City for the return of Jonathan Toews. Back to Saturday for a minute. I mean, listen, if you're a Jet fan and we're at that building, you left with sort of a bad taste in your mouth. That was a game that, I mean, they had in complete control with a 2-0 lead, and then in the third period, a 3-1 lead. And it wasn't like they just let off the gas or anything like that. I mean, to be honest, the 2 goals that the Leafs scored were pretty fortunate. I mean, of all people, OEL, Oliver Ekman-Larsson with 2 seeing eye like wristers into the top corner through traffic. But again, I mean, both teams had chances. Both teams had shots on goal. You mentioned that it was an entertaining game. It certainly was. But, man, it is a tough one being in the building with the Leaf fans. Like, I'll say this. There is no more obnoxious group of people in our country than the Leaf fans of Western Canada that throw jerseys on for 1 game a year and invade Winnipeg, Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver, rolling in as if the team has won like the last 5 Stanley Cups. I mean, it's crazy. And listen, I get why a lot of Jet fans and season ticket holders sell their seats for these games. I mean, there's always people that'll pay a premium for them, and seats are expensive. And listen, at some points, it's especially if the Jets lose or are down throughout the game. I mean, it can be a downright miserable experience. So I do get it. And I will be honest, with the NFL playoffs going on, going on at the same time, I actually thought about doing it myself. But then I thought about, like, the Jets and their fans, you need to show up in these games and be there to support your team in what is going to be always a lively crowd, which is a lot of fun. I'm not saying it's not a lot of fun. But you do. So anyways, I went to the game and was there, obviously left a little disappointed, but we've said it. I mean, as far as the big picture, Reem, it is the regulation losses that were killing the Winnipeg Jets before. And as much as it felt like a loss, and it was a loss in the standings, they do get a point. You look at that those 5 games coming out of the losing streak, 4-0-1, 9 out of a possible 10 points. It was a great week. Now you got to do it again. And again. So the fact that they didn't get the win, not great. The consolation point, they'll certainly take it. But it's pretty clear that moving on from that Toronto game, they need to continue playing at the level they did last week and start it off with a win tonight and hopefully see if you can get it together on a quick turnaround tomorrow against the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, and about that game Saturday, I mean, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they're the Dallas Cowboys of the NHL. They have a ton of fans everywhere, and I saw someone tweet at Mike saying, oh, it's so embarrassing for Winnipeg to have so many Leaf fans. Like, you hear the cheers when they score. That's what it's like when they play anywhere. Mitch Marner got booed by Leafs fans in Vegas. You watch a Leafs game when they go out west to Edmonton or Calgary. There's tons of them. Look, it wasn't anything close to the number of Habs fans that were in Ottawa on Saturday. That Jake Sanderson noted that in the postgame. So, I guess it's annoying for some. It does add to a lively atmosphere, and I think it makes it a must-see game. Unfortunately, the Leafs keep winning these games here. I think they've got a bit of a win streak going right now, and it was too similar to the Jan 1 game where they blew a lead. I thought the Jets were more in it. I don't think they collapsed like they did Jan 1. It was unfortunate. And the Jets' success in overtime or lack thereof, I think something that we're starting to notice here.
It's crazy. Last year, and I'd said this on the show a bunch of times, I mean, if you're going to get 1, you're probably getting 2.
Yeah, not anymore.
I mean, they had a great overtime record. Scheifele and Connor were always magic with Morrissey. That just hasn't been happening this year. And it's been going in the other side, and they're not even getting to shootouts. I mean, like, I was feeling pretty good going into that overtime, knowing that we got Hellebuck, they had Hildeby, and, we're seeing less and less games actually being decided in overtime this season. So, heading down to a shootout, I would have felt pretty good about that. Obviously, Max Domi got the winner. Because it was Matthews, Hellebuck had to respect the shot. And he made a great play getting it over to Domi, who finished, and the Leafs got a big 2 points. But overall, was a fun night in the building. And I joke about the obnoxiousness of the Leaf fans. The atmosphere is pretty darn good. So we'll we move on to tonight's game. Jonathan Toews return. But let's just quickly hear what Arnie had to say about this game on Saturday. Obviously, not pleased to not be able to hang on to that lead. Here's what he had to say post-game about the overtime loss.
The 2 goals, one was a rush coverage. We got caught up ice. They got numbers ahead of us. The other one was a face-off play. And then in the overtime, we turned the puck over. So, kind of self-inflicted.
I know you guys need points, but if I would have told you 5 games ago heading into this, you're going to take 9 of 10 points, what would your response have been?
No, it's exactly what we have to do. We have to continue to find ways, but, also find ways to get that second point. At the end of the day, you're trying to catch teams above you. We have to do it every night. It's got to be points. And, like you mentioned, that number is we're happy with it, but at the end of the day, that's a game again that we should have finished it off.
Yeah, 1 not as good as 2, especially when you're in the situation that the Winnipeg Jets are in. Arnie was asked about, getting 9 out of a possible 10 in 5 games coming out of that miserable losing streak.
I'm still a little bit. Obviously, we should have got both points tonight, so it still kind of rubs me the wrong way. At the end of the day, we just got to stay in these games. We got to find a way to, like I said, we had that one. We should have finished it. Find a way to finish it. That's part of our job. That's those moments that count in games. Whether that's in the start of the third period where we give up a rush goal, or it's a face-off play, whatever it might be. Those are moments that we have to handle a little bit better.
All right, so there's the coach, Scott Arniel. One real positive thing that came out of the game was the gorilla off the back of Nino Niederreiter, who hadn't scored in forever. He scored last night. That line had, a number of opportunities. I mean, as I say, this was not a game that was short on scoring chances. I mean, the amount of close calls that Remis, the Jets had around Hildeby throughout the game. I mean, one of those goes in, and we're probably having a very different conversation right now and talking about a five-game winning streak. But again, close calls don't count, and the Leafs were able to come back. But great to see Nino get on the board. I mean, we've talked a lot about some of the guys that had been slow through those couple months. Toews is coming around now. Perfetti's getting points. To get a little something from Nino Niederreiter, who's skating with Adam Lowry and Vlad Nemestikov right now. Very, very important if this team is going to do something moving forward to get more of the depth scoring that had been just non-existent for a good period of time before New Year's.
Yeah, we saw a couple games in a row there with, line 4 scoring Tanner Pearson, getting in with Morgan Barron returning and Danny Zhilkin. And you saw, line 2, Toews, Perfetti having some games, but we hadn't had a big game from that third line. Nemestikov has had a really slow season in terms of point production, especially compared to last year. Adam Lowry recovering from the injury, and we hadn't seen a Nino Niederreiter goal since he scored 2 in Nashville on November 29. So, that's a 21-game goalless drought. And this is a guy who he can score, and he gets chances, goes to the net, but it just hadn't been going for him. Nice to get him on the board in the loss, because they're going to need that line going. That was their energy line for so long. Lowry, Kopp, Tanev, Lowry, Niederreiter, like whatever iteration you want to be, that line is very key, shutdown line, but they need to contribute as well. Had them going, and all of a sudden, the Jets are scoring, 3-4 goals a game here on this 5-game stretch where they've got 9 of 10 possible points. They're going to need that to continue if they want to keep, every game basically must win right now.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was just looking at, I think it was Matt Hyman in the chat, said, save the game. And Connor Hellebuck made a bunch.
Yeah.
Mark Scheifele in overtime.
Yes.
I mean, listen, unfortunately, the Jets just didn't have the puck in OT at all. I mean, they had it, they did get it. They didn't generate much offensively. And the Leafs, I thought, did a really, really good job of, moving the puck around, creating chances, getting pucks on Hellebuck. And, it could have easily been over earlier in the overtime if Scheifele hadn't sold out and played goaltender for a play and made a great save. But they end up losing in OT. It's 9 of a possible 10 points, not the 10 out of 10 they wanted. And now, Remo, as we get into tonight's game against the Chicago Blackhawks, this is an incredible opportunity for the Winnipeg Jets if they can continue to stack up some wins. I mean, you've got 3 games in 4 days. You come out on the right end of these games to start the week and potentially against Florida. Things could look a lot different as we get into the weekend if they can stay hot.
Yeah, in Chicago, they've had a kind of up and down season where they were in a playoff spot for a bit, but you look at this roster, they're clearly in the middle of a rebuild. A good opportunity for the Jets on a quick one-gamer before they return home Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday to take advantage. And I'm sure emotions will be high. It's nice to have something to play for. It doesn't feel like a regular Monday night. There's going to be a lot of reaction there for Jonathan Toews, and you hope that it boosts the Jets for 2 points. Again, every point very important, but you need to beat teams. I want to say teams below you in the standings, but the Jets are in 31st. There's only one team below them, Vancouver, who is starting the rebuild and trade away Kiefer Sherwood today. So you hope the Jets, they can continue this stretch and get another 2.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the playoff picture and the wild card goes right now, the 2 wild cards are held by Utah and the Sharks. Utah's got 54 points. They played 49 games. And the Sharks have the 8th spot with 51 in 47. They played the same amount of games in the Winnipeg Jets. The Jets are 7 back with equal games. Now, Anaheim and the Kings both have 51. They've played an extra game. Nashville has 50. Calgary has 46, also in 48. St. Louis has 46 and 49. And the Blackhawks 1 point ahead of the Jets, and the Jets have a game in hand. So, I mean, they're 3 games under 500. It's 4 games over 500 that is the spot right now. So it's very clear what this team needs to do. Get some wins. And if you are not ending up on the right end of the scoreboard, make damn sure you're at least getting a point in overtime. As I say, you know what? 3 games, if you win them, things can look a lot different. But I will say this, Remo, if this week doesn't go the way the Jets would like, they've got a very tough road trip next week heading out to Florida. To me, I think this week is going to be the litmus test for this team as to whether we're talking about giving management tough decisions as we get out of the Olympic break, or whether it is time to really start scoreboard watching each and every day because the Jets have found themselves a way to get back into the mix. I mean, these next 4 games this week, I think really are going to determine that.
Yeah, I feel like we've been saying these next four games, but they keep treading water, holding their head above, but they need to go on some type of win streak. They got the first part of this 10-game segment done with 9 of 10 points, but you have a great opportunity tonight and tomorrow at home. The Panthers just got lit up over the weekend by the Hurricanes, but
9?
Yeah, they're getting a boost tonight with Matthew Tkachuk coming back, and the Red Wings are having a great season. The Devils, not so much. So, look, they've been playing well, playing better. Hellebuck stepped it up a bit. They're getting contributions from everyone. You hope they can keep it rolling here tonight, tomorrow, and we'll see about the weekend.
Yeah, as I said, it's all about Jonathan Toews tonight at Chicago at the United Center. Jay Zawaski will join us in a little bit. We're just getting some of the Toews audio in. Just before we do that, let me shout out our friends at Uptown Alley. Had a bunch of friends that went over there on the weekend and just had an absolute blast. This week is a perfect Uptown Alley week because, as we mentioned, the forecast is ugly. It is going to be cold, but there's great times inside of Uptown Alley. 5-pin bowling, 10-pin bowling, an amazing arcade, games where you win tickets for prizes you can take home, and incredible food and beverage options. If you're looking for a corporate event, a group outing, I know my friends from one of the restaurants around my neighborhood all did they're doing their staff party there tonight. Just an awesome spot to get together for group or corporate outings. You can find out more at uptownalley.ca or give them a call at 488-0000. And don't forget about that bowl and play special every day, 7 days a week after 9 p.m. If you've got a move planned for 2026, you're already getting things ready, head on over to our friends at Rollies Transfer at rollies.com. They will be more than happy to help you out, as they've been doing for Manitobans for over 60 years. Family-owned and operated. Rollies, the most trusted name in moving in Manitoba. Check out everything they've got going on over there at the website. You can click on Request an Estimate. Use the promo code WST for a special discount on moving services and moving supplies, and then let them know when and where you're moving and what needs to be moved, and the friendly staff at Rollies will turn around with a great quote and get you locked in for the white glove treatment that they are famous for over 60 years. For all your moving needs, make it Rollies, the most trusted name in the game. Find out more today over at rollies.com. If it has been a minute since you've been to see the dentist, gang, it might be time to go see Dr. Terry and his wonderful staff at St. Vital Dental Center. They've been serving generations of Winnipeggers and Manitobans and have a beautiful new facility at 167 St. Anne's with state-of-the-art equipment and convenient free parking right behind the building. A full array of dental services available for you. Everything you need, from cleanings and checkups to things like dental implants. They can do it all with a smile on their face while making yours look even better. For all your dental needs, try St. Vital Dental Center. Say hi to Dr. Terry. Tell him the WST boys sent you. Make an appointment today at stviteldental.ca. And hey, big cheers to our friends at Canadian Club, Canada's favorite Canadian whiskey. I know a couple of us needed a drink after that loss to the Leafs on Saturday night. If you are heading to your local Manitoba liquor marts, make sure to pick up the best in Canadian whiskey, the original since 1848 Canadian Club. And when you're at your local beer store, make sure to keep your eyes out for remaining supplies of the limited edition Canadian Club Cranberry Ginger Ale. That was such a big hit this holiday season. All right, off to Chicago we go. Tonight, not just any midwinter Monday night game between two Central Division rivals. This is the return of Jonathan Toews. And always great to catch up with Jay Zawaski from CHGO in the Windy City. Jay, what's going on? How are you?
I am absolutely freezing. It is 13 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure what that translates to Celsius, with whipping winds. Just left the United Center. We just got done talking to Jonathan Toews, and my face is still recovering. Jonathan Toews brought the Winnipeg weather with him, apparently.
You know what? I imagine there's a lot of people in Chicago feeling that way last night because, of course, while this is the big story today, probably a lot of heartbroken Bears fans waking up today after just another typical Bears game last night where everything happened and it went to the extra frame last night.
Yeah, I think, it's funny. Bears fans today are a little more positive than I expected because this season really came out of nowhere. And for the first time in a lot of our lifetimes, we realized the Bears really have a quarterback that's a star and that can make things happen, and they're never really out of a game. So this season kind of felt like gravy beyond beating the Packers in the playoffs. And now we look forward to the next few of having a legit quarterback who's only going to get better. And it feels like for the first time that we're not going to be having just these kind of, random seasons every 5 years where they're okay and maybe they get a playoff game. Seems like they can sustain something here for a while. So it's mostly positive around these parts today.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you got the coach and you got the quarterback. It was a great season for the Bears. And I mean, as I say, I figured there was probably a few people waking up this morning after, especially the ones that braved the elements last night. Yeah. And that was, we know a thing or two about cold games here in Winnipeg, and that one certainly met it. That being said, you mentioned bringing the Winnipeg weather in with them. The Winnipeg native Jonathan Toews returns for the first time to Chicago. What was the buzz around the arena tonight? I mean, as I said, this is not just a regular midseason Winnipeg-Chicago game.
No, a lot more people at the media scrums this morning for the morning skates for both teams. And a lot of people wanted to talk to Jonathan, who have covered him for a long time here in Chicago. And it's funny, we got to interview him in the media room, which is the last time we got to see him. He was leaving. His last game in Chicago, the last time we spoke to him was in that very same room. And today he looked better and he sounded better and he looked healthier. And you could tell he's pretty excited about being back. He's trying to make it feel like a regular game, as he said. But I think also the fact that on Saturday night, the Hawks honored the 3 Stanley Cup teams. So a lot of those guys are still in town. So he was able to have dinner with some of those guys last night. So lots of memories floating around for Jonathan Toews today, for sure.
Jay, what do you remember about his last time there? We focus so much on, the return, all the work that he's done and how his season's gone this year. But, I mean, this guy was an icon of Chicago sports for so long. Take us back to when it ended. And are you surprised that he's come back still in a player based on the way he left?
I would say this, to answer your second question first. I'm surprised he's back, but if there's anyone that could pull off what he pulled off, Jonathan Toews is the guy to do it, right? Pretty much any other player I would bet against in that. But as soon as he said, I think I'm going to come back, I said, yes, Jonathan Toews is coming back. But that last night in Chicago, it felt like an ending. And Jonathan Toews had an opportunity to end the game, had a late breakaway, but couldn't score. But game ended. Hawks ended up losing that game. But he got an incredible send-off from the United Center fans. He sort of mentioned that night that it felt like his last game and that he'd accomplished everything he needed to accomplish. And he's proven to himself everything he needs to. But you always knew with Jonathan Toews that competitive fire is burning under the surface. And if there was any way he was going to be able to come back, he was going to try to do it. And then as you started to get kind of the gory details of everything he went through before he, stepped away, and then the things he went through after he stepped away, isolating himself overseas for months and going through this brutal detox situation, just trying everything he possibly could to get back in the game. Once you see a guy like Jonathan Toews put himself through that, you knew he was going to come back. So I'm happy for him. It is bittersweet to see a guy who is an absolute icon and legend in this town wear another jersey, but you're happy it's for his hometown team, and you're happy he's having some success finally. It seems like he's really starting to turn things around lately.
Well, for sure. I mean, I was just saying how fortunate that it is that this game is in January as opposed to in November, December, because not only was Jonathan Toews struggling, I thought he had a really positive first 10 games or so, but then sort of hit the wall and really struggled. And listen, it's one thing if you're not scoring, but his line was just getting caved in and they were giving up a ton of goals. And obviously the Winnipeg Jets, to the surprise of many, had a absolutely miserable 2-month run that put them behind the 8 ball. And, they're trying to get back into the playoff picture. They're right where the Hawks are right now. But yeah, Toews coming out of the Christmas break has been a different player. And he was so close to scoring his 5th in a row against the Toronto Maple Leafs on Saturday night. I imagine that, put it this way, I mean, just for the person, you want him to come back in a good spot. And he certainly is that. They know that the team has a lot of work to do, but I'm sure that sort of showed today when Toews spoke that the confidence level is a heck of a lot higher than it was earlier in the comeback.
Oh, it definitely. And it's funny, we mentioned, we're asking before Jonathan Toews spoke, we talked to Blackhawks head coach Jeff Blashill, because since Connor Bedard has come back from his injury, he hasn't quite looked like he did, early in the season where he was playing at an MVP level and one of the best players in the league. So Connor Bedard misses a few weeks and needs some time to get back. Jonathan Toews at age, 36, misses 2 years. It's going to take him more than a couple weeks to find his game again. And it looks like he's found it. And I guarantee you, if you have sports wagers in Winnipeg, he's going to have a point or a goal or something in this game, because that's how it always goes. Patrick Kane made his return to Chicago and beat the Hawks in overtime. That's how that went down. So it feels inevitable that something magical will happen from Jonathan Toews tonight.
I may have already placed a plus 375 wager on a Toews goal. If only the streak was still going. But
anytime scorer plus 375?
Yeah, with our friends at CoolBet. But it's a pretty good number. I mean, listen, with where he had been earlier in the season, the number was quite high. But even through his scoring streak, I think I got it at plus 390 in game number 4. The Leaf game, it had gone down to plus 320. But it's back to 375 tonight. And I will say, when we do the CoolBet lines later on, that will be an auto bet for the game tonight. Any other? We're going to hear from Toews from the presser in just a few minutes. I mean, any other takeaways from what he had to say, both about his return and where he's at right now with his team?
No, I think he's just. The sense I get from Jonathan is a lot of gratitude. I think, especially being back in Chicago, feeling the love that he so richly deserves. Maybe it feels to him, and it felt like to me, I don't want to speak for him, but it felt to me as kind of a exclamation point on this return of, look, I didn't think I was going to get back here. I had so many questions. Would I be able to do this? And here it's come full circle. I'm going to get this ovation tonight that I have certainly earned. And I think Hawks fans are not just going to be cheering Jonathan Toews for what he did here in Chicago. I think they're going to be cheering him for what he's done to get back to the game, because it is remarkable. It is commendable, and couldn't be prouder to call it. He is still the captain. People will always refer to him as captain around here. He is the greatest captain in franchise history. He is beloved, and he's going to feel it tonight in many, many ways. And I think he just kind of feels gratitude for the opportunity to come back and play, and again, for the opportunity to come back and play in front of his old fans in Chicago.
Jay Zawaski with us in the Windy City with CHGO Sports. So what do you expect tonight? What will the atmosphere be like around the game? And of course, I imagine he'll start the game and be out there taking that first face-off for the Winnipeg Jets. How do you feel that this will go from the fans that'll be in the United Center tonight?
It's going to be 100% positive towards Jonathan Toews. There's going to be so much love shown to him. I imagine the first TV timeout, he'll get his video tribute. I'd give him one every TV timeout if I was the director of operations for the Hawks. Look, this fan base appreciates what the 2010 Blackhawks did for this city. And they brought a franchise. And look, for a lot of people that don't know, the Blackhawks before the arrival of Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane were one of the worst franchises in sports. Bill Wirtz, threw nickels around like they were sewer covers. Home games were not televised. The Hawks had a long stretch of no playoffs. And even when they did have good teams, they would refuse to spend the money to get over the hump and win. 1961 was their last cup before 2010. They brought this franchise back from the dead, and it is appreciated. So when they honored those banner players last week, it was Keith, Seabrook, Hossa, Sharp, all those guys came back. I thought the roof was going to blow off the place during the anthem, and I think it's going to be the same tonight. It's going to be electric. I think if Jonathan Toews scores, you're going to hear a good portion of the fan base cheer for that. I mentioned earlier when Patrick Kane beat the Hawks in overtime, it's year one of a rebuild. Who cares? People went nuts for Patrick Kane scoring again at the United Center. It wouldn't shock me if the same thing happens tonight.
Away from the Toews story, which will dominate much of the attention, this is a big game for two teams that are trying to get closer to the wild card spot right now. Hawks have lost 3 in a row, all on home ice. I mean, where are things at for the home team tonight as they get ready to drop the puck against the Jets?
They're a very young team, so they're showing some very young team tendencies, right? So Connor Bedard gets hurt. I think they go 1-6 in the first 7 games he misses, and then they get red hot. And without Connor Bedard, they beat Dallas twice without Connor Bedard. They're picking up some quality wins, playing really well, and they're playing this style of hockey that Jeff Blashill wants them to play. This north and south, simple pucks on net, guys in front of the goalie, shots coming from the slot, the stuff that every hockey coach through the history of hockey has said is how to win in this game. And then Bedard comes back, and I think there was a little bit of, okay, well, he's here, so now we can kind of get back to trying to skate around people and make the spectacular play, and that hasn't worked. They had a 2-0 lead against Boston Saturday night, and they ended up losing the game 5-2 because they just got too cute too often. So what we need to see from the Hawks is a little more consistency. Look, your top minutes man as a defenseman is 20 years old. Artem Lefschov's playing 25 minutes tonight. He is a bit of a roller coaster. He has a ton of skill, but he is learning the pro game on the fly. Obviously, Connor Bedard is also 20 years old, so your two most important players are 20. You've got a bunch of other young guys around them. And look, the veterans have done their job. Tyler Bertuzzi, the one with the most consistency, he's just been an absolute menace in front of the net, doing all the things that Tyler Bertuzzi is known to do. But it's been kind of a different team every night, and it's kind of hard to predict which one's going to show up. I think they will be motivated to, rinse the taste of that last game out of their mouths, and they want to put on a good impression, with Jonathan Toews here. They know there's going to be a lot of eyes on this game, and now with the Bears out, this is their opportunity to sort of capture the imagination of the Chicago sports fan that maybe hasn't had their eyes on Madison Street over the last few months.
You mentioned, of course, Bedard, who is the showstopper with the Blackhawks. We've also seen Frank Nazar have a nice start. I wanted to ask you about a couple of the other first-rounders that are in the lineup right now. I mean, tell us about Oliver Moore as an NHLer, and of course, Levshunov, who I believe he was the second overall pick, if I'm not mistaken, right? On the blue line, playing on that second pairing.
So Oliver Moore is one of the fastest players I've ever seen. Actually keeping up with McDavid the other night when they played the Oilers. I'm not saying he's that fast or that smooth, but he is just a high motor, incredible skater, does all the little things you need to win. What we need to know from Oliver Moore is what is his scoring ceiling at the NHL level? And we're not going to know that for a few years, but that was always kind of the question. Like, he didn't put up huge numbers in college, didn't put up massive numbers in Rockford in the AHL, but he's come up here and he's been okay, a little bit under half a point per game for a guy who's getting, third line minutes, those sort of things. But love watching him play. He does all the things Jeff Blashill loves in terms of puck battles, getting in corners, willingness to engage. He actually, after Nazar went down and they had a couple more injuries, they moved Oliver Moore to center, and it was actually beneficial for him because Jeff Blashill would sort of say that he plays so fast that he hasn't learned the context of speed yet. He's just kind of 100% all the time. And having the responsibilities a center has actually slowed him down a little bit, and he's played his best hockey as a center. So it'll be interesting to see if that sticks when Frank Nazar comes back. And that should be, it's not tonight, but Frank Nazar probably Thursday, I would imagine, makes his return at long last. He was out there in the morning skate with the cage on the jaw, so he's getting close. Artem Levshinov, there are moments of brilliance, there are moments of terror, because he's a I don't know, I guess you'd call it the quarterback, you call him a gunslinger, a risk taker, someone who's gonna maybe pinch when he shouldn't, and maybe make that risky pass he shouldn't. But when everything is clicking for Artem Levshinov, you see every bit of the number 2 overall pick that the Blackhawks took. And this pick has been massively scrutinized by Hawks fans because Ivan Demidov was there to be taken, and they chose Levshinov instead. So those two, fair or not, will always be compared. So there is a bit of the fan base here that is already a little bit hard on Levshinov because they just didn't want him. Everyone wanted Demidov. He's not Demidov. So now every time Demidov scores and Levshinov has a turnover, look what happened. And we're seeing that a lot already. But for the most part, he's been good. You'll see tonight there will be moments of that will dazzle you. And that's just the kind of what the Hawks want to see from him and all their young players is more consistent peaks. And when they hit those valleys, they're not quite as deep. It's been a roller coaster with Artem Levshinov. It needs to be a little more of a level ride. There's going to be ups and downs, but they got to close those gaps a little bit for him.
And of course, he's playing on that first power play unit. The one guy that I've been a fan of for the last couple of years, and a younger player, big size, is Vlasic. Is he pretty getting big minutes on that number 1 pairing and doesn't do as much offensively, but is a guy that they're really leaning on for a lot of responsibility on that young back end?
Well, it's funny. He's, aside from Connor Murphy, he's the veteran defenseman on this team at 24. He's been a part of this team for years, and he's been paired up with Louis Crevier, who's 6'8". So it's 2 giant defensemen playing together. I think there's more on the offensive bone for Alex Vlasic to take. I think for the first time this year, he's gotten a little bit of criticism from Hawks fans because kind of felt like found money. There weren't huge expectations on him, and he's come out and been pretty good. But I think there hasn't been this massive growth from him that maybe some people have expected. As we're projecting out here for the next 3-4 years, maybe when the Hawks start to become actual contenders, I think he's a middle pair guy when all is said and done. And a great one, a really good middle pair guy. But I don't think Alex Vlasic is a number 1 or 2 defenseman we thought he might have been 2-3 years ago. Now, look, it's hard to evaluate a defenseman this early in their career. I can't remember which. I think it's Chris Pronger says is it 300 games Chris Pronger says you need to make a decision on a defenseman. He's not really close to that. So we'll see. I think he's a very good player. I think there's more there. And also for a guy that big, I want to see him adapt a little more physicality to his game. I want to see him lean on guys a little more. I want to see him. I'm not saying, go out there and be Darius Kasparaitis or be Jacob Trouba. You don't have to be that guy, but just when you're that big, a little more physicality would go a long way.
Hey, Jay, I can't not have you on the program. And, you think about the rebuild and just looking at the draft, they've got 2 first-round picks. They've got 3 second-rounders this year. So this is still very much part of the rebuild that they've been putting together. They seem to have a cornerstone in net with Spencer Knight. How big of a difference has he made since coming over from Florida and really establishing himself as a number 1 for this young team?
I mean, early this year, he was absolutely among the best goalies in the league by whatever metric you wanted to look at. He is still outstanding. I'm not saying he's not, but to be able to cross that off the list of, okay, we've got the goaltender. We know that Spencer Knight is a number 1 NHL goalie. Now, is he going to be up there with the Connor Hellebucks and the Andrei Vasilevskis and the elite of the elite? We don't know that yet. But everything we've seen so far is pointing in that direction. Now, as the defense gets more experience and they start minimizing some of those mistakes we talked about with Levchinov and some others, his workload isn't going to be quite as difficult. So I feel very confident about that. The other thing about Spencer Knight, too, that I think is a little bit under the radar is he comes from Florida. He comes from a locker room full of winners with success, and he can come into this young room and say, hey, look, like this, he sort of mentioned it last year, kind of saying it without saying it, like some things need to change here. It's got to get a little more professional around here. And I think that went a long way towards the hiring of an experienced coach like Jeff Blashill. And I think he can just look at his teammates and say, hey, look, when I was in Florida, this sort of stuff didn't fly. These are the expectations. This is how a winning room works. Spencer Knight is a very thoughtful, quiet guy, but when he speaks, I think it matters, right? And the team has taken that from him very, very well. He's really an impressive young man. And man, to think that the Hawks fans were thinking they're going to have to eat as much of Seth Jones's deal as they possibly could, and they're probably going to take another bad contract back just to get rid of it, to get Spencer Knight and a first-round pick for Seth Jones has been a godsend. I think both teams are very happy with it. So that worked out. A really good move for Kyle Davidson there to address the goaltending situation. And he's got, Drew Comesso playing in Rockford doing pretty well. So if in 2-3 years, if that's your tandem, you feel very good about the Hawks goaltending going forward.
Jay, just before we leave, I mean, you mentioned, that trade, and I agree. I mean, I think that was a massive win-win for both teams. Needless to say, Florida won a cup, and Seth Jones, I think, is pretty happy. But, I mean, the return, I think, for what was perceived possible from Seth Jones was something great. But, unless the Hawks go on a big heater, they'll probably be on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. What are you guys paying attention to as far as the trade deadline goes? Is there a piece or two that everyone's talking about potentially being moved?
There's a few really quality pieces on the Blackhawks that are out of contract here. So Nick Foligno, the captain, I don't think they're going to trade the captain. Nick Foligno hasn't really indicated if he's retiring after this year or not. I will say he's played really well. He's been one of the Hawks' most consistent forwards. Now, he's not lighting it up by any means, but in terms of setting the example, playing hard, making good decisions, he's great. If he wanted to move on, I'm sure there'd be plenty of takers for him. Jason Dickinson, who consistently draws the toughest matchups of the opponent, if he's put on a contender, he probably wouldn't have to be that number one defending center and could get some of the offense we saw from him a couple years ago. Great in the room, great with the media. Jason Dickinson is one of my favorite guys to cover and could be a huge under-the-radar ad for a team. Ilya Mikheyev up front has been a tremendous penalty killer, has a lot of speed. I think the Hawks want him back. It wouldn't shock me if he gets extended here soon. But if someone comes calling with an offer that Kyle Davidson can't refuse, he might take it. And then, of course, on defense, there's Connor Murphy, who's been here for 9 years, just past Marian Hossa for the all-time games played for the Blackhawks list, and the guy's never played in a playoff game in his life aside from the COVID year. He came from Arizona for Nicholas Hjalmarsson, so fans didn't like that because they love Nicholas Hjalmarsson here. But all he's done is given every bit of himself he can to this organization without complaint. Block shots, physical, drops the gloves. That Connor Murphy is the kind of guy a playoff team should be looking to add. He will make your team better. He is probably a 5 or a 6. But does all the little things you need to win in the playoffs night after night after night.
Jay, thanks a lot for the time. This is a game that I think we'd all had circled on our calendar at the beginning of the season just to see what it would be like, where Jonathan Toews will be at. He's playing his best hockey of the season. The Jets have been playing better as opposed to what we saw to end 2025. So should be a big one tonight and a memorable one for many, many reasons. Fill people in on what you and the gang have cooking over at CHGO for people that want more on the Hawks and the Windy City sports scene.
Yeah, so CHGO Sports, we do 5 podcasts a week for all the primary Chicago teams. So we do post games after every show. We'll be on after tonight's game. A little bit delayed because we do have an event with our listeners. We're going to be in the suite tonight. Watching Jonathan Toews' return with a bunch of our diehards. So, but on after every game, before every road game, we're in the locker room. We're credentialed. We write. We got merch. We got everything. So it's really a great place for Chicago sports fans. Our Bears show is on right now. I think last night we had, after the Bears game, 65,000 people watching us on YouTube. So it's really blown up since we started in March of 2022, and it's only going up from here.
Yeah, that was, I imagine there was a lot of Bears fans that wanted to just come together in the community and get it out after what was a really tough loss, but a game that no one will ever forget. Jay, enjoy the suite tonight, the sweet life with the crew. And we'll look forward to doing this again later on this season. Thanks as always, pal.
You got it anytime. Thank you.
All right, there's Jay Zawaski, CHGO Sports. Check him out and give him a sub over on YouTube. We will have Mike McIntyre join us a little bit in a little bit, but let's hear from Jonathan Toews. Shout out to our guy Connor, who was able to chop up some of this. Well, here, first off, Toews was interviewed with Sarah on the weekend, and it was just asked about how much he's thought about his return to Chicago, which of course comes tonight.
Especially seeing when Kane went back and he scored the overtime winner.
It's Patrick Kane in Chicago! Oh my God! With the overtime winner!
His first
no
game
pressure.
Back. I guess not. What else is new? But either way, I'm excited to go back. It's going to be strange. Happy and sad at the same time. Obviously, life goes on, but I'm happy to be right where I am right now, and definitely very thankful for the years I got to spend there.
Yeah, what do you think the emotions are going to be like for you?
Well, I mean, I think it's the same.
How emotional do you get?
I don't know. I guess not really. I think even my last game in Chicago, when I kind of knew that was going down, I was a little bit more emotional like throughout the day, like before the game. When the game started, it was just trying to soak it up and enjoy every minute. The send-off from the fans was completely unexpected on my end. I'm so thankful to have played in a city like that with hockey fans like that, where we won championships, and it was just exceeded so many expectations, and no one really knew how crazy it was going to be.
All right, so there's a little bit of some of the Jets content with Sarah Orlesky talking about Jonathan Toews. That was leading into looking ahead to this quick one-day road trip. And now they're there. United Center today. They did the morning skate, and Toews met a huge throng of media. First things first, he was asked, what's it like being in the visitors' room at United Center?
Well, it hasn't changed much. I mean, I guess if you're in there sometimes for training camp and stuff. So, but yeah, it's definitely different. Just being out of the city for a while and coming back, especially there's a big Bears game last night. It's always fun to feel the energy when you come back to Chicago, so it's nice to be back.
All right, so there's Jonathan Toews on being on the other side of things. Of course, much has been made of his comeback and his return, his special place in Chicago sports history. Here's Toews on just how much he's taking in this moment.
Yeah, I don't know, it's a weird situation. You don't get games like this all the time, obviously, but just trying to walk that line between at the end of the day, you want to go out there and play well, and you want to win the game, so you got to keep some level of focus and not get too distracted with all the things going on around you. But I had a nice dinner with my family and some people in town that are here to watch the game, and got to see some of the good old boys that were still hanging around from this weekend. So it was a fun night last night, and I think tonight I'll definitely be excited, a lot of energy to play the game and just try and go out there and play my best.
All right. Now, as we spoke with Jay in the last segment, this is going to be a very special return. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed over the last 10, 15, 20 years to have more impactful returns to Chicago than certainly Patrick Kane's. And now Toews, and I think Toews maybe even more so because of how long he was gone, and many people thought that this would never happen. Toews was asked on what sort of reception he expects from the Chicago faithful.
Yeah, again, I think you guys probably remember my last game here in Chicago, and that was, again, totally unexpected and kind of blindsided me, and I'm sure I'll get the same feeling tonight, that not really sure how to receive that. But like I said, it's felt really good to come back here and see some old friends and just feel that reception once again.
Now, Toews on a couple of occasions there, mentioned that final game with the Chicago Blackhawks when everyone basically knew that was it, and what a special night that was. Here's Toews on if he ever thought that he'd be back in the National Hockey League after that last game with the Hawks.
No, I guess you don't think that far ahead. So even this season, I definitely had a game kind of marked down on the calendar, but you're always kind of focusing on the next game, and it kind of sneaks up on you. So here we are.
When did you find out that things were going to line up with your return and the guys being in town for the Centennial celebration?
Actually, I had no idea. I actually saw Steger in Toronto probably two weeks ago, whatever it was. So we were in Toronto right after Christmas there, and he said he was going to be in town with a bunch of the guys, and I had no clue. Like, Johnny O and Host and a lot of those guys were coming in too. So it was pretty cool to see. The moment they got, and even talking with Shazi and Steger and Browse last night, all their kids are growing up now, and I think it's probably pretty cool for, their young boys and children to maybe see it secondhand when they're a little bit older, a little bit more mature, to see that, their dads are pretty cool, and they had some pretty cool moments here in Chicago. So I think it's special for them to relive that too.
All right, so there's Jonathan Toews. Apparently got together with a few of the fellas after the Stanley Cup celebration on the weekend. Here's one more from Jonathan Toews, and then we'll bring in Mike McIntyre. There's the picture of all the guys in and around it. Big Buff. Certainly looking, there's Andrew Ladd. And a bunch of the crew. JT missing, and just wild that he'll be, these guys all retired doing their thing. He's going to be out there looking to score for his 5th time in 6 games tonight for the Winnipeg Jets. Of course, Patrick Kane still kicking around in the National Hockey League with Detroit. He was asked if he talked to his buddy Kaner on some advice on returning to Chicago as a visitor.
How important is it for you that you're playing well coming into tonight, too? I mean, Patrick Kane set the bar pretty high for these return games.
Yeah, he tends to do that, so I stopped comparing myself to him a long time ago. But yeah, like I said, it'll be cool to appreciate those moments, but at the same time, I want to go out there and play well. So got to just try and not block it out, but focus on your game and just focus on those details.
How much you steel yourself for that first TV timeout when you know that's where they always do it? Like, you just kind of mentally steel yourself to get it out then and just be able to focus afterward?
Yeah, I guess so. Just try not to think about that too much. It'll happen when it happens. So.
Did you ask Kane for any advice?
No, I thought about it, and then I was like, what am I calling him for advice for, So no, I'm kidding, but like I said, I'll just go out there and enjoy it tonight.
All right, so there's Jonathan Toews. We'll talk about it coming up with Mike McIntyre and look ahead to a huge week for the Winnipeg Jets, coming off a pretty successful one overall with 9 of a possible 10 points in their last 5 games. Before we bring in Mike, gang, I want to let you know that tickets are open and available right now for the St. B Mega Million Choices Lottery. Grand prize, one of 5 dream homes worth $1.5 million, or you can opt for $1.25 million tax-free cash. But get your tickets now, because if you get them in before next Thursday's midnight deadline, you'll be in for the winter bonus with prizes worth over $73,000, as well as the ultimate bonus, which is worth over $140,000. And part of those prizes is that ultimate World Cup experience, where one winner is going to win tickets, hotel, airfare for 2 to a World Cup soccer game in Vancouver, valued at over $10,000 and $2,000 cash. Get your tickets at stbmegamillionchoices.ca. You can also grab them in person at your local London Drugs or Red River Co-op location. Of course, it's all in support of the incredible and very important work at the St. Boniface Hospital. Have to thank our friends over at Princess Auto for their support of Winnipeg Sports Talk. Of course, WST has been supported by Princess Auto for years. Princess Auto does so much in our community, being headquartered and founded right here in the Peg and now serving Canadians coast to coast. 3 locations in Manitoba to serve you, where you'll find the best deals on the most unique assortment of tools and equipment around. Everything you need to complete the projects on your list or start something new is at Princess Auto. Pop by and see them today. Panet Road, Portage Avenue West, out in Brandon, or shop online 24/7, 365 over at princessauto.com. I have to thank our friends over at Chud's Power Sports. Head on over to their new website at chudspowersports.com, and you'll see some big savings right now as we get into snowmobile season. First of all, Polaris, up to $4,000 off your select off-road vehicles and financing as low as 0%. And snow day deals are in effect right now at Chud's Power Sports. Start the year on snow sales event. Up to $3,000 off select snowmobiles. Financing as low as 0% for 60 months and $250 in free parts and accessories. While you're on their website, top right corner, you're going to want to click on that e-commerce store button. That's going to take you to truenorthparts.ca, which of course has incredible clearance deals on gear and accessories and so much more, and everything you need in the parts department. Nobody does it better than Chud's for over 80 years. Manitoba's undisputed power sports superstore. Pop by and see him in person in Gimli at the corner of Highway 8 and 231. And just before we bring in Mike, I've been telling you it's coming, and I hate to say that this is it, but your battery's not going to get more tested than it will be this week, which is why you might need a call to Manitoba Battery. If you need a new battery to get through the Winnipeg winter, don't go anywhere else than Manitoba Battery, your local option with the best prices in town, period. You can stop paying more at the big box stores and get both the best in price and customer service from Donnie and the gang at Manitoba Battery, with 2 Winnipeg locations, Logan Avenue, Dovercourt Drive. Free battery testing if you want to see how you're doing. And if you need a new one, you'll shop local, get the best prices in town and the best in customer service as well. And by the way, if the car's not moving and you need one delivered to your home, Manitoba Battery will do that as well, anywhere inside the perimeter of Winnipeg. See them in store today or order online at manitobabattery.com. All right, let's welcome in Mike McIntyre from the Winnipeg Free Press. Mike, what's up? How you doing? Oh, we got Mike muted.
Oh, right here.
Thanks,
sorry, Mike.
Mike,
I will not be silenced. I'm doing pretty good, Huss. Not a huge fan of this turn in the weather.
Oh.
Did you look at the forecast for later in the week?
I actually banned anyone from looking to it. I said, Please do not. We are not going to pull up Environment Canada or any apps and see what's coming on the weekend.
Well, put it this way. It's actually hilarious to me that the Florida Panthers of all teams will be the one in town.
I love it.
They're going to be here on Thursday. No state tax. They're going to get taxed by the weather significantly by Thursday night, where I think the overnight low is something like -40 air temperature, feels like -50, which is just bananas. So I imagine Paul Maurice is going to have, he'll probably have a funny line or two about returning to Winnipeg in the heart of January. But hey, the hockey team's heated up a little bit, and it was a fun weekend at the barn. I know a lot of Jets fans. Actually, I've heard from a lot of Jets fans who are furious, They're furious by the Toronto Maple Leafs takeover of Canada Life Centre, to which I say, where have these people been? This happens every year. Like, some people treated Saturday night as if it was this hostile takeover like we've never seen before. It happens every year when Toronto's in town. And it was a good game, back and forth. I love the dueling chants, the go Jets, or the go Leafs go, and then the go Jets go. That's a great atmosphere. And hey, if you're a Jets season ticket holder that made a few bucks by selling your ticket for the night, good on ya.
Yeah, well, okay. Beat it, Mike. That is the worst take we've heard in a long time. I said right off the bat, and listen, I get it why people do it. I mean, frankly, the number one reason is probably not the money. It's they can't sit next to the obnoxious Leaf fans for the 60 minutes in the building. But I was given that choice. And even with the NFL playoffs on and plenty of bars where I could have watched both, no, I have to go there and support the home team. And I wish more people would do that. I sort of do get it, but just basically throwing up the white flag and letting a team take over your building for season ticket holders not going to the game, I hate that. And I wish people looked at that game more as not one to sell your tickets, but more than one to step up and bring it even more than you might for the other 41. But that's just me.
Well, I'll say this, Huss. It's not nearly as bad as what happened 2 nights earlier in Vegas. At least no member of the Winnipeg Jets got booed out of the building by the so-called home fans. Did you see Mitch Marner, or did you hear the reception in Vegas for star free agent signing Mitch Marner, who was booed out of the building because so many Leafs fans took over in Vegas, sorry. And it was Vegas that ultimately got the last laugh. Obviously, Toronto, they came away with the bonus point the other night. Yeah, I mean, I get it. I'm not going to begrudge anyone who wants to make a buck, but I get what you're saying. You know, fly the flag, if you will, defend the turf from the invasion. There was a lot of blue in the stands the other night, and I guess the Jets were feeling a little blue that they didn't get the bonus point.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I mean, I guess my point is if your most loyal fans are bailing on that game, I mean, it's going to be what it is each and every time. It could be worse. It was about 85% Habs fans in the Montreal-Ottawa game on Saturday night, and the players had to speak to that. And yeah, listen, this isn't new. And this wasn't way more than a bunch of other games. I mean, this is just sort of par for the course when the Leafs come in, and you got to hold your nose. But that's why you can't blow a 3-1 lead in the third period against that team. I mean, you know, in any other situation, winning 4 in a row and getting a point and being 9 of 10, you'd probably say, okay, you know, I'll take that. But again, and we heard from Scott O'Neill after the game, I mean, that was one they let get away. And again, the goals that went in, I mean, 2 seeing eye shots from OEL of all people. I mean, this wasn't Austin Matthews taking over the game or anything like that. I mean, there was it did feel a little bit like previous weeks before last week where the Murphy's Law would kick in. But I think this team has to move on from a fun game. Nino Niederreiter scored. There were some good things that happened. And just focus on doing this week what they did last week, because that's what it's going to take if they want to actually be in the conversation as we get to the Olympic break.
Well, and maybe it's a good thing that, you know, who's on the schedule tonight, because there will be no emotional hangover or letdown, you would think. Like this game packs even more of a punch because of the Toews, you know, homecoming to Chicago and all that. So like normally you might think, okay, big emotional game Saturday night, Toronto, and with what happened, the momentum swings, like maybe there'd be a sag. Well, if you're the Jets and you can't get up for tonight's game in Chicago, followed immediately by the return of the St. Louis Blues for the first time since a certain game was played between them in downtown Winnipeg last spring. Like this is an enormous 24 hours, Huss. Absolutely enormous, because you know you're the Jets. You're facing over the next 2 days the 2 teams that are directly in front of you in the standings. And Scott O'Neill has talked about not being able to leap everybody at once and picking off one team at a time. The Jets have a golden opportunity to pick off not one, but 2 teams over these next 2 days. And when you think about it, like going 2-0 versus 0-2 in regulation, and what a difference that will make. Like when this team when players put their head on the pillow Tuesday night, tomorrow night, what happens tonight and tomorrow against the Blackhawks and the Blues? Like, that's really going to, and I dare say in a lot of ways, Huss, it feels like it could ultimately shape at least the short-term future of this franchise. They only have 9 games left to the Olympic break. They wake up today 7 points out of the final wild card spot. I don't know about you. Like, what do you think? What's the magic number when you get to that Olympic break 9 games from now? And they'll have, just as a point of reference for people, they will only have 26 games left coming out of the break. What's the magic number that if they are more than X points out, you're already into next year territory, and now you are looking at a sell-off, versus if you're within X points with 26 games left, you still feel like you have a fighting chance? I'm going to throw a number out there. This is my number based on kind of just thinking about it. I say if they are any more than 6 points out at the Olympic break, they're toast. And to me, Huss, like, they got to at least get back to 500 in these last 9 games. So that would mean they're 3 games below 500. They got to go at bare minimum 6-3. They got to get 12 points in these next 9 games. And that might not even be good enough. But so when you think about these next 2 games and the 4 points up for grab, tonight and tomorrow are just enormous for this team.
Yeah, and to be honest, it's this week. Like, next week, you go to Jersey, then you're in Tampa, you're in Florida. I mean, those are really, really difficult games. But if you can start this off with a couple wins, and I'm telling you right now, those standings will look a lot different Wednesday morning if the Jets can put up a quick 4.
Yep.
And then you've got, 2 more home games against solid teams. Florida, although Florida's outside of the playoff spot right looking at. I mean, the entire West or East is so close and jumbled up. And then, of course, the Red Wings, who have looked good so far this season and are still hanging on there, tied with the Lightning at the top of the Atlantic Division. Some big tests. But to me, this is the week. Like, I think they have to win 3 of these 4.
Yep.
And if you get to that point, Mike, then you are in an opportunity to maybe jump on a Jersey team. You'll have a couple days off after a really tough run, and then see what you can salvage out of those 2 Florida games on the road, which are always very, very difficult places to win. I'm sort of with you as well. I think realistically, being 4 games above 500 in this 9-game stretch, so I mean 6, but maybe if you're losing one of those games, at least get a point out of it.
Yeah, like 6-2-1. Yeah.
To me, I mean, if you can be on the right side of 500 at the Olympic break, it at least gives you the opportunity to come out of the Olympic break, get on a bit of a roll, and get close to it. I mean, right now, Utah's 5 games above 500, and San Jose is 4 games above 500. So if you extrapolate that for the end of the season, you're still talking about 7 or 8 games above 500 to get that wildcard spot. So it's going to be 90, 91 points, I think, for sure. And again, fortunately for the Jets, that's a bit lower than that threshold has been over the last few seasons. Calgary missed last year with 96.
Yeah, 96, to be honest, would at this point would require an absolute miracle. So you're right, Huss. I mean, and just as a case in point, like you talk about the Jets, they've grabbed 9 of the last 10 points here. What has that got them? They've gone from 11 points out and tied for 31st in the league to alone in 31st in the league and 7 points out. They've only managed to gain 4 points. It's hard. Look at the Leafs, who are now...
But that's a lot. Like think about that, Mike. Like, to be honest, I'm surprised that they are only 7-0 considering they were 11. I mean, that's... basically about 35% of the deficit that they have erased. And that's why if you do that again, like you go 8 or 9 points in this next 5-game stretch, then you can pretty much have a conversation. Like when you lose 11 in a row, you essentially need to do that on the other side just to get back to give yourself the opportunity to do it. And again, we said it was going to be a long long uphill battle. But to their credit, through the first 5 games, they've sort of done what they've had to do, as disappointing as it was leaving one on the table Saturday night.
Yeah, they really can't afford many, if any, missteps here. And I would say, the other night, Huss, sure, that's a good Toronto team that came in red hot. And I guess if you just look at the final result, you'd say, okay, they got a point. And they're now 5 straight games with at least a point, 4-0-1. But that point they threw away, coupled with the 2 points you could argue they threw away on New Year's Day. Think of how different things would look today. We'd be talking about a Jets team that's only 4 points out of a playoff spot, not 7, had they managed to not blow those multi-goal leads in the 2 games against Toronto. And, if it comes down to writing the obituary on the 2025-26 Winnipeg Jets, the games against Toronto may be part of the eulogy. We'll see what happens, obviously, over the coming stretch here. But, yeah, Huss, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, the Jets, they can't afford a regulation loss tonight or tomorrow. They need to get 3 out of these 4 points. They got to find a way. They can't, a regulation loss against. They
need
1.
4. You can't lose to either. Put it this way: if you're getting to overtime, their overtime record is
terrible,
and it's ridiculous.
It's inexplicable.
This team, I always said, just get us to overtime last year, because they're going to get 2. More often than not, they'll win. And if it's going to a shootout, you feel pretty good. That's why Saturday night was so disappointing. I mean, yeah, they didn't do a lot in overtime. They didn't have the puck very much. But if you get it to a shootout, are you not riding with Connor Hellebuck over Dennis Hildeby?
There's some interesting stories backed by numbers that are out lately about overtime in the NHL and how it's fundamentally changed, that teams have changed their strategy. And I think you're seeing it. First of all, more games than ever are going to overtime, and there is way less aggression. Teams are now playing, I guess, more not to lose than to win. And I do wonder if the Jets have been bitten a little bit by their own previously successful strategy, where the Jets knew, the Jets were always aggressive, right? They're we will trade chances with you. We got the best goalie in the world. We've got elite finishers, and we'll roll the dice. And more often than not, it's going to come up in our favor. I just wonder if in some ways they're aggressive against teams that are almost playing more passively, and they're waiting for the Jets to kind of burn themselves. And when you look at, for sure, all the points they've left on the table now, we were talking recently about, the Jets got to stop losing games in regulation and at least get some loser points. Well, now the stories become, yikes, they got to turn some of these loser points into 2 points. Why are they tossing so many games away in overtime? It's funny how the narratives change, for sure.
Well, it's the regulation losses that kill you. And I'll stay to that. Listen, it can go one way or the other, and it's basically a tie, and you're flipping a coin, and someone's getting an extra point. I mean, I don't think if the Jets played another 4 overtime games, they're going to lose the next 4 like they did. But just to way overtime's being played right now, you know what teams are doing? And I mean, the Jets are ones that have tried to do this on a couple of occasions. When you know that the big dogs are out on the other team,
play defense. Teams
are more than happy just to get the puck and skate around for a minute and a half until the Matthews or the McDavids have to go off and then try and win it against the less dangerous of their opponents. And I mean, the Jets started with the big guys on Saturday night. Well, they never had the puck the entire time. And then obviously they got on a little later on, and it ended up in the back of their net. But yeah, there is way more strategy, and teams are waiting out top lines. From my perspective, at least, they're waiting out the top scorers on the other teams just with puck possession. It'll be interesting whether they talk about, not being able to take it back out over the blue line or, I mean, these are some things that I think for sure will be discussed, because for all the people that hate shootouts, there's already this schedule and everything. It's taxing the top players so much that will be a non-starter to extend overtime with the PA.
Agreed.
So They need to find a way to maybe generate more in it. And I still maintain that the biggest mistake of the league is not having 3-point games, because I think you'd see far more aggressive teams at the end of regulation trying to win in 60. And then, of course, it would only make too much sense to have every game worth the same amount. But again, that is a hill that I have been dying on for 15 years that is falling on deaf ears with the commissioner.
I join you on that hill, Huss, preaching to the choir, but preaching to deaf ears. Now, here's one other thing the Jets have done well lately, but also not done well. If I had told you that the Jets were going to score the first goal of the game in 9 games in a row, which is a franchise record, as they've now done, how many of those 9 games do you think the Jets should have won? And keep in mind, this is a team that when they scored first last year, they were almost automatic. Because usually scoring first meant adding on in a big way. You had the best goalie in the league, and playing with the lead was deadly. The Jets have scored the first goal in 9 straight games. They've only won 4 of them. And that's a problem, Huss. Scoring first isn't the be-all and end-all, but when you're fragile, as the Jets have been, playing with the lead as opposed to chasing the game should be a significant thing. And yet, the 4-game win streak, yes, but the 4 games before that, and then the other night against Toronto, they also scored first, and they didn't come away with 2 points. And to only win 4 out of 9 games when you've scored first, that's not great. And that, again, we're kind of going through all the things that haven't gone right for the Jets, and it is a long list. The good news is that they are scoring first. That tells me they're not coming out totally tentative. They're starting games the right way for the most part, but it just remains an ongoing storyline, Huss, with this team. The elusive 60-minute effort that really was their bread and butter a year ago has become more of the exception rather than the rule this year. And I know it, as Scott O'Neill said the other day about his blood pressure and whatever, I'm sure it's driving everybody crazy trying to figure out this team, which can be really Jekyll and Hyde at times. Yeah,
unfortunately, it wasn't enough Jekyll and Hyde it was just Hyde.
Hyde, yes.
For 2 months. And, they've dug them. But I know some people are saying, why are they even talking about, pushing forward and winning games right now with where they are? The bottom line is that this team is just way better than the other teams in their
correct,
where they're at right now. Obviously the team's going to go out and the players are going to try and win hockey games and stuff like that. To me, the conversation as to whether we can't even have a conversation yet, to be honest, about realistically being in the playoffs without a massive week this week. And these two games particularly. And I know tomorrow is a really, really tough one where you're playing in Chicago. You're going to come back late tonight. There'll be no morning skate, and you got to go and get it fired up. But this is the bed that the Winnipeg Jets have made for themselves, and they got to sleep in it. So, yep. Obviously, just focusing on this game tonight, I would hope and expect that we will see a very, very fired up and motivated team, and doesn't take much to think about why. Regardless of their spot in the standings and all that, this is a big, big game for Jonathan Toews. This is not going to be like a regular Monday night game in the middle of the season between 2 bottom-dwelling teams in the Central Division. And every guy in that room is going to try and bring their best to get Jonathan Toews a win in his return to Chi-Town.
Sure, there's a little money on the board, as the saying goes. Might be maybe not a little. There might be a lot of money on the board. But you're right. We know, and we've heard from players talk about what Jonathan Toews has meant just to be around him, to kind of soak up his knowledge, and the fact he's now playing as well. File this under things that could have been. we were an inch away from Jonathan Toews carrying a 5-game goal scoring streak into tonight, and the Jets having a 5-game winning streak.
I still can't believe that didn't go in.
That was a double doink.
Yeah, shout out to the Bears. It's their bounce from the playoffs. It was. And I mean, I was in the lower bowl, like sitting like with a beautiful view of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are my eyes deceiving me? Like, I thought that was right in the top corner and came back out. And then, you see the replay. I don't even know the physics involved in that for it to not go in based on where it first hit the post.
And imagine if imagine that happened to Toews a few weeks ago before he kind of got hot. Like, that would have summed up everything about him and the Jets. Now, though, he's heated up to the point you expected that. And I must admit, Huss, I was waiting for the horn of doom to go off in the arena because I thought it went in. And I thought
it wouldn't have been a horn of doom. It would have been a horn of great celebration.
Right. I just mean doom usually for the team that thinks they dodged a bullet, and then the horn goes. But you're right. In Winnipeg, it would have been a horn of glee. I thought it was in. I couldn't believe it when I saw the replay. But that being said, Jonathan Toews has kind of rejuvenated this return season, and it couldn't come at a better time for the Jets, certainly for him, to now come back to Chicago. I mean, I had looked at this game a month or so ago, Huss, and thought, oh boy, like, this is kind of going to be just a sad trip down memory lane in a way, as he's a shell of his former self, but not at all now. He's coming in hot. Jets are playing pretty well as a team, and it just makes for a fantastic, compelling matchup. And don't forget, I mean, the Blackhawks are 1 point ahead of the Jets. Like, I don't know how realistic. Here we are talking about what it's going to take for the Jets to get back in the race. I don't know how realistic in Chicago they're talking about playoffs, but they are 1 point up on the Jets, which means they're 6 points out of that wild card spot. Obviously, the expectations for Chicago were a lot different than Winnipeg at the start of this year. This is a team, in rebuild mode, and obviously they've had some key injuries. But I got to think Chicago, they want to put on a show for their home fans. They know people are going to be fired up tonight. I expect we're going to see a Chicago team come out and try and put its best foot forward. It should make for a terrific game. And I got to think the first period, more than any in recent games, is going to be pivotal here. Which team comes out, playing tentative in a game where you'd think both teams would be absolutely fired up, like coming right out of the gate. There's no room for being tentative here. And the team that kind of comes out more aggressive and takes advantage is probably going to be the one that skates away with the win.
Yeah, I have no idea what the plans are for the broadcast, but I do hope TSN doesn't go to commercial during the first television timeout, because that will be that's going to be a really, really cool scene. I mean, when you think about what Jonathan, we just had Jay Zawaski on the program, and he said, to this day, Jonathan Toews is still the captain of the Chicago Blackhawks, and it's going to be really cool to see tonight.
I was thinking, Huss, like almost 2 minutes. It's just a 2-minute break. Like, that's almost not enough. Like, you almost wonder if there's going to be multiple tributes to him, or if there's an agreement where the Hawks and the NHL and that have said, you know what, like, can we get a few extra minutes here for a video package? Like, the standing ovation's going to last more than 2 minutes. Like, the idea of just kind of quickly moving on, a quick video tribute, a wave, and some cheers. Like, I don't know. I'm with you. I'm fascinated to see. I'm jealous of my colleague Ken Wiebe, who's on this trip. He gets to, like, the United Center is pretty much the best atmosphere in the NHL to begin with, from Jim Cornelius doing the anthem, and it's a great hockey town. It's a great barn, and I got to imagine the electricity will be off the charts tonight. So yeah, I'm curious to see what the reception is. And, it should be just a spectacular evening, but it's one where the Jets can't just get caught up in the sentimental nostalgia, if you will. They got to find a way to channel that into their on ice performance and come away with a big win.
Mike, great stuff as always. Enjoy this one tonight, and we'll talk to you next Monday and see where things have shaken out over really a do or die week for the Winnipeg Jets if they want to realistically be talking about making a push before the end of the season. Thanks for doing this, and I imagine Ken will have a lot of good stuff in the free coming out of this quick one-day trip to Chi-Town.
Absolutely, and then we'll have the tag team coverage as he makes his way back tomorrow morning for the quick turnaround tomorrow night. Looking forward to it.
Thanks so much, Mike.
Take care.
There's Mike McIntyre of the Winnipeg Free Press. All right, let's take a look at the clean lines for tonight's game. Brought to you by our great friends at Clean Line Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical, your one-stop shop with over 40 years of experience and 24/7 emergency services at 204-500-2001. You can find out more on all of Clean Line's residential and commercial plumbing, heating, and electrical services online at cleanline.ca. Clean Line, the official plumbing service of the Winnipeg Jets. Captain approved. The captain is back with Nino Niederreiter, who got that monkey off his back with a goal on Saturday night. He's playing with Vlad Nemetstikov on that third line. Top line, Scheifele, Connor, Iafallo. Jonathan Toews makes his return to United Center with Cole Perfetti and Gabe Vilardi on his wings. And the fourth line, no changes from Saturday. Morgan Barron in between Cole Koepke and Tanner Pearson. Gustav Nyquist and Danny Zhilkin, the extras. The blue line looks like this. Morrissey and DeMello, Dylan Samberg and Elias Salomonsson. We haven't talked about him. I want to get into that. Connor's going to jump on with us in a minute. And, of course, Logan Stanley and Luke Shen on that third pairing. Goalie tonight is Connor Hellebuck. We'll expect Eric Comrie tomorrow. They're your projected lines for tonight's game for Clean Line, Plumbing, Heating, and Electrical. If you're looking for a great spot to watch the game tonight, I would suggest your local Boston Pizza. You can warm up in the lounge, enjoy some ice cold schooners, world famous BP wings, gourmet pizzas. You can pick a player for the Jets player combo. I would pick Jonathan Toews tonight. We'll get to that in the cool bet lines. And also, you can probably get a TV on that national championship game if you're interested in that one tonight. Indiana looking to make history against the University of Miami down in the Orange Bowl. Staying at home tonight because it's too damn cold to leave and you don't want to cook. Order online and get it hot and fresh to your door by ordering at bostonpizza.com. Our friends at Royal Sports are ready for next month. Pop by there on the weekend, and the Olympic gear and merch is coming in hot and heavy. If you want to grab jerseys, hoodies, hats, toques, scarves, and more, Royal Sports is your Team Canada headquarters. Also got a lot of great Team Canada gear ahead of the World Cup coming up this summer. While you're at it, check out the great deals in the hockey department. And, man, they're busy right now with snowboards, Greg was telling me. If you've got a snowboard trip or plan, they've got some great deals on right now at Royal Sports. It is all there waiting for you, along with the best selection of fan merchandise and licensed gear you'll find literally anywhere. 750 Pembina Highway. Check them out on Instagram at Royal Sports Winnipeg for the latest merchandise drops and sale information. All right, Connor's going to jump on with us. I want to get to the why not question of the day. We'll do that with the group after this. But first, a big cheers to our friends at Winnipeg's favorite local brewery, Little Brown Jug.
You train day in and day out, learning new techniques, approaching new concepts, and living out the thrill of achieving your goals. Building a craft beer is no different. While you spend your hours on the ice, we spend ours here, brewing our trademark beer. Again, and again. Here's to pushing the status quo and challenging ourselves to build something memorable. 1919 by Little Brown Jug.
All right, let's welcome in Connor Rabchak and Michael Remis back to the program. And let me hit the chat with this question before I hit you guys with it. Why not question of the day for Not Autocorp over at Waverly and McGillivray. The Jets got 9 of 10 points in their last 5 games. We talked about this key week tonight in Chicago, home tomorrow against the Blues, Panthers at home Thursday, Detroit at home Saturday night, and then kicking off that road trip in New Jersey. How many points of a possible 10 do the Winnipeg Jets need to get to have you willing to consider the potential of a run and being a playoff team? Connor, listen, the last 5 games were great. You got 9 out of 10 points. You made up a little bit of ground, but as we've said, this is a very steep uphill climb. In your opinion, what is on the line this week for the Winnipeg Jets, for those that, and certainly for the players and the organization that still hopes that they can make noise?
Exactly, Huss. And I think that's a good preface for this conversation. It's like, if your team tank, well, the organization wants to make the playoffs, and that's what the players are trying to do, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about here. You're looking at the next 5 games. I'd venture to say 8 or more. Again, is how many points you need out of a possible 10 to really put yourself in a good spot. And I think you and Mike nailed it. These next 2 games are probably the most important of all of them, because Chicago and St. Louis are 2 teams that are ahead of you in the West. Then you get 3 Eastern teams with Florida, Detroit, and New Jersey. So those ones maybe not as important, but the Jets need every single point possible right now. You brought it up. I mean, they got 9 out of a possible 10 points, and they only really separated themselves from the Vancouver Canucks and still sit behind a ton of teams in the West. And there are multiple Pacific Division teams with 51 points. You're going to need one of them to fall out of favor and have none of them really pull away from the pack. So I think at 8 or more out of these next 10 possible points would have me, in a spot where I could think, okay, even then, the Jets, if your team tank or team sell at the deadline, they could still sell and be in a spot that they could push for a playoff spot down the line. So I think that would put them in a spot where they can have a big coming out of the Olympic break run to put themselves in a position to make the playoffs.
Well, I mean, yeah, and Reem, I mean, just before we get your take on this, I mean, listen, I totally understand why some people are kind of looking at where we're at right now. It certainly was, and I was right there, 2 weeks ago saying this season's probably toast. The only thing that could make it not a lost season is coming out of an 11-game winning streak, basically winning 9 of 10 or something like that. And listen, they did it for 5 of the 10 games, but you have to keep that going to even have that conversation. And, the bottom line is right now that second wild card is 4 games above 500. The Jets are 3 under. I mean, you need to get to the positive side of the ledger. And then again, it's still going to take more runs of 3 and 4 and 5 wins. Remo, about the 5 games, this 5-game segment we're starting right now. Connor says 8. Where are you?
I think 7. I think they got to play over like 700 points percentage here. So I'm going with 7. They need to win every game if they can. I agree. They had an 11-game losing streak. They're at the bottom. If they want to reverse this, they have to pretty much go on an 11-game win streak. Maybe they can, or they had me start believing with the way they beat up on Minnesota. They have these flashes where they look pretty good, but then you have a third period, like they had against Toronto, even though it wasn't the worst. But hey, they had a lead and they blew it. And we've seen that too often. And it's amazing when you talk about with Mike, how often they're scoring the first goal. That should be leading to wins. It hasn't. And Hellebuyck, you think he can be better? How much is he, still healing from his surgery? But they're certainly getting the scoring the last couple of games when they weren't at all. Hopefully that continues the next couple, but they need to get the defense and the goaltending to pick it up a little as well. You're allowing 3 to Toronto in regulation, 4 against the Islanders, 3 against New Jersey. Even though you were winning those games, you were scoring goals. You were also giving up a lot. They need to have some games where they're putting up 1s and 2s.
Yeah, I'm with you. And just for folks that are still quote unquote team tank, it's just not that easy with this team. I mean, they're not trading Connor Hellebuyck or Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor or Josh Morrissey. And as long as you have those guys in the lineup every day, you got a chance to win. And I mean, like, what happened through that 11-game stretch was a crazy anomaly, in my opinion. I mean, they certainly played well enough to win a few of those games. I mean, how they managed to lose as many as they did, all one-goal games, is still something I can't really believe happened, but it is. And listen, you can trade a Logan Stanley, you can trade like a Tanner Pearson, a Nino Niederreiter. I mean, of the actual trade chips that a lot of people want to be moved, I mean, obviously it probably hurts your chances a little bit if you're bringing in unproven players and filling out the lineup. But the bottom line, Connor, is like, unless their guys get shut down, that like this team, we saw it last year. There's most of the players are there. They are capable of winning on most nights. And what happened during the month of December into January was a incredibly ugly and unfortunate part of the season that in all likelihood will be what prevents them from making the playoffs. But it's a lot easier said than done. Say, oh, we'll just go lose these games. I mean, these are professionals that are out there trying to win. I mean, players just don't go out there and go, oh, you know what? Yeah, those fans online make a great point. We should just try and lose. Like, sorry, that's not part of reality.
Well, here's the thing, Huss. Even in the midst of that 11-game losing streak, we were talking about how they're not a true talent, bottom team in the NHL, 32nd place. Like the talent is there for them. There's obviously questions about the playoffs now, and that is obviously a big question mark. But in terms of being the worst team in the National Hockey League, I was never really in the camp that, on a true talent level, they were down there. And you even look at, I think you bring up a great point there, Huss, where you even talk about if you want to trade Stanley at the deadline and Niederreiter and Pearson, and you throw every UFA in there, Schenn, Miller. The Jets went into Minnesota and won 6-2 without Neil Pionk, who they just signed to a 7x7 contract. Like it's not as if you trade Logan Stanley and all of a sudden you go from maybe being a fringe wildcard team in terms of talent to 32nd. The swing is not that big. Neil Pionk's not on this team right now. Salomonsson came in and the Jets stomped the Wild. Well, it was really 6-1. They scored a garbage goal late, made it 6-2. Like, it's not, I agree with you. It's not that easy. It's easy for a team like Vancouver. If you want to trade Quinn Hughes and Kiefer Sherwood and move all of your players out, yeah, it's easy for them. But are we sitting here talking about trading Josh Morrissey so that the Jets can tank? No, we're not, because they're just not in that position right now. So it's an interesting spot for the Jets to be in. And I said this on Sunday, in the same way that the 15-1 start last year essentially had them make the playoffs through 16 games, we might look back at the end of the season and say, okay, that 11-game losing streak essentially made them miss the playoffs. Because if you look outside of that 11-game losing streak, maybe they play at a pace that is good enough for a playoff spot, but you lose 11 straight. That's a very tough hole to dig yourself out of.
We've credit to us. We've managed to go through almost 2 hours of the program without making it WST, Winnipeg Stan talk.
Oh, my God.
But
this must be a record for the last couple of weeks. It hasn't even come up once.
It certainly has. Well, that's what happens when you come out of a weekend that was this busy.
Wow.
I thought he had a good game, another good game. Got on the score sheet with the first assist on one of the goals. But Reem, I'm sure you saw the tweet that I put out. I mean, two dudes grabbing beers, both in Stanley jerseys. They're made a whole bunch of them. They were selling them at the pro shop on the weekend. It is just it's interesting. And who were we talking to earlier? Was it Zawaski mentioning? Chris Pronger always said you really need 300 games in the NHL to see what a defenseman was. I was just wondering, well, where's Stan at right now?
Like 260. I looked it
248.
up.
248 right now. So needless to say, they're the fellas. And the guy on the left, shout out to him, did say, he goes, hey, I actually got that in his rookie season. And you can tell it's an Adidas jersey. And then the guy on the right has the newer Fanatics version of the jersey. But another strong game for him. I just bring that up because obviously that's a lot of the talk online. But Connor, who's really impressed me these last few games that we haven't been talking a lot because of Stan Mania running wild through Winnipeg is Elias Salomonsson. And I'm telling you right now, if Neil Pionk was healthy enough to go on Friday or something like that, I'm taking Luke Schenn out of the lineup, and I'm not
100%.
taking Elias Salomonsson out. He is he's getting more confident and more comfortable every game that he's playing, and he brings something that I think is going to be very, very positive for the Jets, even this season, never mind down the road as a regular in the future.
I'm totally with you on that. And when you look at some of the injuries the Jets have had on their blue line, not even just Neil Pionk, but Colin Miller. We heard from Scott O'Neill that Miller had knee surgery, very similar to what Connor Hellebuck had. So Hellebuck was initially supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks, came back in 3. Let's call Miller 3 to 6 weeks. That puts him right in the middle of the Olympic break. So, assuming Miller is out until at least the Olympic break, if not longer, Salomonsson will be here till the Olympic break. Then after the Olympic break, the Jets have 5 games between when they come back and the trade deadline, which we expect one of these UFA defensemen, if not multiple of them, to be moved. And after the trade deadline, I'd expect Elias Salomonsson to be up here full time as well. So there might be a scenario, Huss, and I said this on Sunday, where Elias Salomonsson's not playing another game for the Moose this year, except for if the Jets season ends and the Moose are in the playoffs and he goes back down. Like, he might just be up here now, given the injuries and the situation the Jets are in with the trade deadline coming out. But I couldn't agree with you more in how he played, especially the game against Minnesota. When Salomonsson came up the first time and he played those 4 games, and they were on the road against the Caps and the Hurricanes, some very tough teams to get thrown into the fire, into the deep end, if you will, against for his first couple of NHL games. He was making the key mistake. He was on the ice for the game-winning goal against. There would be a bad turnover. That game against Minnesota was so steady, calm, poised. There wasn't the glaring mistake. Broke up a number of plays in the defensive zone, neutral zone, pushed the puck up the ice, good puck mover as well. And then the Toronto game, Huss, I thought he was great. And in the first period, there was a 3-on-2 coming down the Matthews line, which got the matchup with the Matthews line, him and Sandberg. Matthews line was coming down 3-on-2. Domi tries to make a pass across to Austin Matthews. Salomonsson breaks it up. The puck goes into the corner, and he's one-on-one with Matthews. He throws a reverse hit on him and gets the puck up the wall, and the Jets break out the zone. And Austin Matthews isn't a small guy. Like, this isn't Cole Caulfield that he's reverse hitting and stealing the puck off of. Like, Austin Matthews is a big dude, and at his best is like a power forward. And for Salomonsson to do that, I mean, he just looks so much more calm, poised, comfortable in these first couple of games here. And I think that 4-game stretch earlier is helping him now. And again, like, you get Chicago and St. Louis now. That's a step down from the matchups he was getting last week with Minnesota and then the Matthews line in the Toronto game. But I am super pumped to see what Elias Salomonsson can do the rest of this season, because the flashes I've seen in the last 2 games have been awesome for a young player.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think there's any question that he'll be playing regularly after the trade deadline. I'm just here to say that, like, right now, if this team wants to win, he's helping them do a lot of positive things right now. 100%. And like, listen, I don't think they need to play Luke Schenn to showcase him. People know what they're getting in Luke Schenn. There's 1,100 games of video if you want to go watch it. So we'll see on that. Hey, speaking of the Moose, a nice weekend for the Moose and Laval. A 2-1 shootout win, and then a 3-0 win in the second game. Lambert with a goal and an assist, which was nice. They got a power play goal as well. But Reem, actually a sad story coming out of the weekend. One of the games was called off with just over a minute left due to a medical emergency for a fan. And we found out afterwards that fan actually passed away. So really it's sort of a nice weekend for the Moose on the scoreboard, but not a great feeling in and around Laval after that tragedy.
Yeah, really crazy situation during the Laval Moose game where, a fan had a medical emergency and they stopped the game, and they put out a statement yesterday saying it's with deep sadness that Laval Rocket has learned the passing of its fan Michael Peltier, who attended the game at Place Bell. We would like to offer our most sincere condolences to his family and all his loved ones. Been part of the members community for 7 seasons, always been there to encourage us, and the Rocket family is wholeheartedly with his family. So you don't see that too often where they have to postpone a game, but it was definitely done, definitely something that had to happen during that game. Very saddened to see that during the game, Huss. Thoughts are certainly with the family there.
I want to get to football in a minute, but Connor, what did you think of the 2 trades that went on? The haul from Calgary for Rasmus Andersson, and then the 2 seconds for the Canucks for Kiefer Sherwood today to the Sharks.
My first thought on the first trade, Rasmus Andersson, is of course it's Vegas. It's always Vegas, right? It's always Vegas that's making the big move for the big trade
record,
deadline
it had
guy.
been rumored that was where he wanted to go all along, dating back to last year. Boston apparently was dangling Mason Lohrei and a pick, but there didn't seem to be any willingness to talk extension, and at that point took them out.
Yeah, and I mean, I assumed Vegas. I think it's safe to always assume Vegas when you're looking at trade bait boards and the number one name. But Boston definitely made a push there, and we're making noise in the past couple of days. And then there was the shock that Rasmus Andersson was actually in the lineup on Saturday, Hockey Day in Canada. But I think he maybe wanted to play his last game at home in front of the home crowd. You could see him waving after the fact. But in terms of the actual trade, I like it for both teams. Vegas has an Alex Pietrangelo-sized hole on their blue line, and I think bringing in a right shot and Rasmus Andersson, who's going to play in the top four, going to play with Noah Hannafin, who he played with in Calgary and played well in his minutes in Calgary all those years ago. That'll be really good for him. And Vegas, again, who wants to take the Pacific? It seems like no one right now. I know the Oilers had an awesome weekend, winning 2 games, a combined score 11-0. And Vegas is absolutely up there as well. Battled with some injuries this year, but they're all in. They always are. They're always going to trade their picks. And from a Calgary perspective, I mean, now they're going to be rooting for Vegas in the playoffs because that second rounder becomes a first if Vegas wins the cup. But they have a number of Vegas's first round picks now because of the Noah Hannafin deal and now the Rasmus Andersson trade. And I like Zach Whitecloud as a player as well. And he's got Turb, and maybe they decide to flip him given where Calgary is at right now and their kind of rebuild. But I like it for both teams, Huss. I think it's kind of a win-win. Vegas, it's a win-now move for a guy that they needed to bring in to fill in for Alex Pietrangelo, who's not playing this year. And for Calgary, it's a good haul back in return. And if that second rounder turns into another first and you're getting 2 firsts and Zach Whitecloud for a pending UFA defenseman that wasn't going to re-sign with you, that's a win for them as well. So it might be fencing the take here, but I think it's kind of a win-win for both.
Yeah, the 2027 first rounders top 10 protected, and the second rounder in 28 becomes a first rounder if Vegas wins the Stanley Cup this year. Remo, did I see you mentioned? This is something that I'd said before. I was talking to Dusty about this. In the first year, Vegas had 3 first rounders and made 3 selections. They took Glass, Suzuki, and Brandstrom. Since then, have they even gone to the podium 3 times?
Oh, that's a good question.
I don't think that they have.
This says no. This tweet here says no.
Like right? That, those are. I just don't know whether they were traded afterwards. But you're right. I mean, I think they hosted the one draft, so they made a pick, and then 2028 they may have it. But again, it's like the old Les Snead from the Rams. F them picks, right? They're going for it now. And listen, they've between the tax and everything else with Vegas, it's a pretty nice spot to be in from a general manager's perspective.
They've made a couple. Sorry, they have made first-round picks. I think the issue is they just trade them before anything happens. First rounder in 24, Trevor Connolly. That's the one they still have. 2023, David Edstrom. Got a trade to San Jose. That's a hurdle trade. 2022, no. 2021, Zachary Dean, 30th overall. That was to St. Louis. Is that the Pietrangelo? No, that was a free agent. What trade was that? I'm not sure. And then
I don't remember the Zachary Dean block.
No, I don't. And the thing is, these players you don't.
Ivan Barbashev.
Oh, Barbashev. Thank you.
Ivan Barbashev.
2020, Brendan Brisson. These aren't those picks that they traded aren't really impact guys. Peyton Krebs was really good with the ice. He's doing okay on Buffalo. That was in the Eichel trade. He's not like a huge impact player, so it's not like they're trading. Nick Suzuki's probably the best one that they traded away, and that was to get Pacioretty. Nick Suzuki wasn't Nick Suzuki now. When they traded him, Pacioretty was a pretty good player, even though he couldn't stay healthy.
Well, the funny thing is, they said no to Glass, and they held firm on Glass, and ended up moving Suzuki, and certainly Suzuki is the better player right now. Rio, just before we talk football here, did you say there's a new trade bait board?
Yeah,
Anything we need to know?
Chris Johnston's updated his. at The Athletic, the trade bait board season, because I think we have a kind of a first trade deadline with the Olympic break. They said they wanted to get this Rasmus Andersson trade done. Before that, we saw Kiefer Sherwood traded today from Vancouver. So Chris Johnson's got his trade board. Luke Schenn, number 5 on the list. I think that's what he was. He was around there before, like one of the, who Panarin, Sherwood, well, he's traded. Kadri, Dougie Hamilton. It's probably a hot commodity now that Anderson's gone the top D. And then Luke Schenn. We'll see what happens. And Logan Stanley was about 16 on the first one. He's down, way down the trade board, Huss. He thought with all the points he's putting up, he'd be way higher. And with a defenseman off the board, but he's 22 now. Who's ahead?
Well, I think part of the reason that is that there is a feeling amongst some people that he's not going to be traded, like that they'll find a way to do a deal. I mean, I still maintain, and listen, I see both sides to this. Regardless of how it turns out, it needs to be figured out by the trade deadline, because it would be inexcusable to have him go to unrestricted free agency without getting, like, you have the opportunity to do a contract right now. If you're dead set on doing that, figure it out before the deadline. And if there's no deal, you got to move him. And
I'm curious though, like if you're his agent and Logan Stanley's having the best season of his career, he's 27, light UFA class, cap is rising. What's one good reason why he shouldn't test the open market?
Well, because they put an offer down that they think is better than they're going to get. And obviously he'd want to stay. I mean, like there is an element to like, hey, you know what? I've worked my way into the lineup here. I think I'm on the verge of being a big part of this team. I love the guys. I'm comfortable. I want to raise my family here. So that.
Sure. Outside of like an offer he can't refuse, I guess is what I was getting at. Like, if they offer him 5x5, the agent's going to take that all day or whatever. But if they're offering him 3x3.5, why wouldn't Logan Stanley, having a career year at 27, test UFA?
Listen, I'm with you. I mean, like he's the guy that holds the cards right now. He's having a career year and he's going into unrestricted free agency. So I guess what I'm saying is, and the Jets will have a number that they think that they're comfortable and willing to do. You got to put that on the table beforehand and find out whether it's happening or if it's not. Because if it's not, that is a trade piece. Like, to think that Luke Schenn is at number 5 and Stan is like farther down there. Like, I don't think there's many general managers in the league that would rather have Luke Schenn more than Logan Stanley right now. I would be shocked. I mean, Logan Stanley's, I think, a guy that you can play on a third pairing consistently. I don't know if Luke Schenn is that guy. Put it this way, he's not that guy right now for Winnipeg. If you're not that way for Winnipeg right now with what's happening this season, how many playoff teams are you walking in and actually playing for? So, I mean, to me, the cost would be higher for Stan. The return from the Jets' perspective would be more. And as I say, if there's a taker for Luke Schenn and you can make up some of what you got that you gave up last year for him, to me, that is that it's a no-brainer deal. And get the best offer you can. And as I said, we've got a young guy in Elias Salomonsson that's not making the team any worse by playing regular minutes on the right side.
Here, I'll give you the reason why he would resign. This is the Greg Wyshynski reason. His stuff is here. Moving sucks.
His stuff is here.
His stuff is here. That's the reason. Okay? Moving. Have you ever moved? It's terrible. Have you ever to uproot your life? Sure, it's awful. It's easy to sign on the dotted line. And so what? You probably I'm sure they'd give him a fair offer like they've given to all their other UFAs. We've seen some signings. So, but yeah, you need to know it has to be done by the deadline, and you see what the prices are, and you can evaluate from there. But I'm sure if teams are interested, you have to be willing to listen, especially if you're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, there's our daily little bit of WST Winnipeg Stan talk on the program. It seems like
got it in there.
It's a must be. And shout out to all the 64s in the barn on Saturday night. All right, listen, I do want to get to the cool bet lines right away for tonight's game, but Connor, it's the end of the road for the Niners. I did give my thank you to you and the Niners for their contributions to rid us of the Eagles in the playoffs. But man, that was a tough one. And maybe it was good that you were busy, occupied with the Jet game, because that one started off very badly with Rashid Shaheed taking the opening kickoff to the house and seemed to just get worse. But listen, that was that they were outmanned. No Kittle. I mean, it just seemed like everything sort of caught up with them in one horrible night.
The electrical substation, Huss, next to the practice field turned out to be too much to overcome for this Niners team. No, but I was watching the Jets game. I was up in the press box, of course. And by the time I got my laptop open on the game, it was 7-0 Seahawks. And the game ended 41-6. I could have closed my laptop, and that was the game-winning score, was the opening kickoff. That was the game. That was it. I could have closed my laptop and saved myself the hurt that was coming for the next 3 hours. But, yeah, I mean, you're missing Warner, Bosa, Kittle, Ayuk, again, never showed up this year for the Niners. And the electrical substation that Remis had up there, just injuring everyone, weakening everyone's tendons. Yeah, the soft tissue damage that is next to the practice field, apparently. All these scientists coming out of the woodworks. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what team the Super Bowl is at Levi's Stadium this year, Huss. So which team is going to be practicing on that field next to the electrical substation? That's a big storyline going into the Super Bowl this year.
My God.
Big storyline. Who's going to get the electrical substation? To be determined.
Well, listen, Seattle took care of business. They look full marks. And
awesome.
Man, we got this NFC Championship game, it's kind of hilarious, the difference between the two games. You've got Stafford and Sammy Darts, the third matchup between these two teams. The first two this year, especially the second one, maybe the game of the year, that 38-37 overtime game. And then the AFC, Drake May versus Jarrett Stidham. We'll get to the AFC in a minute because it is so far, kind of below. But this NFC game, what a matchup we've got. And R.I.P. Bears. But, man, did they go down the way they've been all year long. The Caleb Williams play, the saddest thing, having no skin in the game about the Bears losing that game, is that if they were able to win, that play on fourth down to tie the game in the last minute would have truly been amongst a handful of the most famous, incredible plays in NFL playoff history. But Reem, I'm afraid it's going to be a bit of a footnote because it ended up with the Rams kicking a field goal and moving on to the NFC Championship.
What a play. Fourth down. Caleb Williams backing up like he's in NFL blitz us and just hucking it 50 yards in the air yards to complete a 14-yard pass to Cole Kmet. I'm shocked that I haven't seen the image of Sean McVay's eyes popping out of his head come out plastered over my Twitter account. Why is no one captured? I'm going to have to go do it myself, but what a play that was to rescue their season. And that's Caleb Williams. He makes these unbelievable plays. And he threw I don't want to blame him for the interception because pretty clearly DJ Moore didn't do what he did, but Caleb Williams makes awesome plays, but he also turns the ball over and, can be pretty inconsistent throughout a game. But he set the record, for passing yards by a Bears quarterback that had been held since, early 1990 by, Eric Kramer? Something crazy. That just tells you how futile their quarterbacking has been with, the passing yardage
Never
increase.
had a 4,000-yard passer.
Never did. So, it was nice to talk to Jay earlier. Said, they have some hope, but that game was right there. They were on the doorstep, and he threw the interception. That game was made for them to win. And disappointing that, the Bears and the Bills had opportunity right in front of them in overtime. And both franchises, the Bears haven't won a Super Bowl since the 80s. The Bills, never. Were not able to get it done. And you get four franchises in the conference final here in the Rams, Seahawks, Broncos, and Patriots that have all won within, the last 10 years. We could have had, that underdog hadn't won in so long or ever winner. But what a performance that was.
I mean, the other team that would have been in that group was the Texans. Mm-hmm. And Like, this is why this AFC matchup of the Patriots and Broncos is such a dud on paper. Like, the Patriots are the first team, I believe, ever to win a playoff game with less than 250 yards of offense and with 3 or more turnovers. I mean, like, the Houston defense was incredible, and CJ Stroud was so bad in that game. Now, I get the conditions weren't good, and that added to the turnovers on both sides. And I get it, Nico Collins was out, and then when Dalton Schultz went out after his second catch of the game, that was a huge, huge factor. And listen, I'll give the Patriots credit. They won the line of scrimmage against the Houston offensive line, and they could not run the football. And that's the time when you need your quarterback to step up, and CJ Stroud just wasn't able to make those plays. I do think back, though, for anyone that watched the full game, you know, the Patriots got that early touchdown. Houston came back, had a 3rd and goal from like the 4-yard line. They got it in, and there was an illegal shift on the play. And then they didn't. It ended up being a 4-point penalty. And I remember thinking that in a game like this, like, that could be devastating, and it really was. But Connor, I'll be honest, I'm surprised that Davis Mills didn't get some snaps in that second half. I mean, I thought he might come out and start the second half. I guess they did make a little happen right now, but it was just too little too late. And for CJ Stroud, who had that incredible rookie season, underwhelming the last 2 years, and now I think there's major questions as to whether he's going to be the guy long term for Houston and whether he'll get the extension off his rookie contract at the end of next season.
Absolutely, Huss. It's from a Texans perspective, it's a shame that this defense isn't playing next week. Totally. Like, this defense is unbelievable. They have so many studs. Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, rushing the passer are unbelievable. And then, CJ Stroud, I mean, it's puzzling because you see a lot of the times quarterbacks will have the sophomore slump. They'll have the great rookie year. They'll burst onto the scene, or they're a good first year. Maybe not it's their rookie year. Maybe it's the Mahomes and they sit a year and their second year is really their rookie year. But then you maybe see a little bit of a sophomore slump from some of these highly drafted quarterbacks. Jaden Daniels comes to mind this year as a sophomore. But that third year, usually they positively regress back to the player that they were in their rookie year, which is an incredible quarterback. And I mean, I think the loss of Nico Collins was huge for the Texans in this game against the Patriots. I do think the Patriots defense is, kind of flying under the radar. The Patriots have had a Mickey Mouse schedule, but they're winning games and their defense is playing really well right now. And I know Stroud didn't have Collins and Schultz went out of that game early and all of those things, but this AFC Championship game, Huss, is going to be something else, man. Jarrett Stidham hasn't started a game in 4 years, has never started a playoff game at home, and 5-point underdogs, 4.5-point underdogs. We'll get into the cool bet lines in a moment against the Patriots, who all Drake May needs to do is manage this game and they win. Like, if they turn the ball over multiple times, maybe there's a scenario in which they lose 17-13 and the Broncos defense just plays out of their mind and is going to the Super Bowl with Jarrett Stidham as their QB. But if Drake May just manages the football, plays to that MVP level that we saw for the majority of the season, and doesn't turn the ball over multiple times like he did this week against the Texans, the Patriots should win. But there's just this level of intrigue because it's mile high. Broncos are at home. We haven't seen Jarrett Stidham in 4 years. We don't know what he's going to look like. So I'm definitely more excited for the NFC matchup. But the AFC, I think, has a lot of intrigue, maybe for the wrong reasons, though.
Yeah, well, listen, and I mean, I have couched my Patriots hate for the last few years because they've been an insignificant NFL franchise. But they're back. Mike Vrabel's done a hell of a job. But, I mean, this is probably the luckiest run of a team in NFL history. I mean, they had a historically easy schedule based on not just this year, but all the others. You get to the playoffs as the 2 seed, beating almost nobody all season long, and then go through Justin Herbert with no offensive line, CJ Stroud throwing up all over himself in a game that you didn't really have to do much. It was handed to you. And then you get the Denver Broncos without Bo Nix. And now listen, I hate the Broncos. We all know that. I'm on anyone but Denver. But man, I felt for them afterwards. I mean, you need to be a pretty cold-hearted SOB to be laughing about that, even if there were many Bronco fans taking shots at Mahomes for the ACL injury and all that. And the crazy thing, Reem, was how quickly we found out about it. I mean, Bo Nix finished the game. They kicked the field goal. 20 minutes later, Shawn Payton is doing his presser after the game and announces that Bo Nix is having surgery on Tuesday and is out for the season. Like, it didn't even seem possible that that information could already be known, and yet it was. And a real downer for the Broncos, who've had a pretty amazing season. I thought Bo Nix probably was the best quarterback this week, did what he needed to do to outduel Josh Allen, and now they're going to a backup, a guy that has a grand total of 1 snap this year, which was a kneel down.
Yeah, and Shawn Payton would like Jared Stidham going back to his days with the Raiders. There's some hype that, he's one of the better backups, but that was an awesome game with the Broncos winning 33-30, and the difference, the turnovers for Josh Allen, 2 interceptions. The fumble at the end of the first half is the killer, running with the ball and just like
inexcusable,
putting it on the ground. You can't do that. And I agree. Bo Nix was excellent. There were some questions if he would be able to get it done, and the throws that he made at the end to keep that game alive. That game, you go into overtime, and the Sunday night game. I mean, both excellent, worth the price of admission. And the Broncos #1 seed. Question, but their defense certainly legit. We'll see if it holds up for the quarterback who hasn't played like crazy. We could have got a great epic matchup, Josh Allen and Drake May, MVP candidates, but now you get a backup. Thankfully, the NFC Championship has 2 great teams.
Yeah, I mean, whoever comes out of the NFC, I'll be backing the Super Bowl, and will be definitely a worthy of foe. I think Pat's Rams with the top 2 guys for the MVP would be a pretty good matchup.
Yeah.
Hard to imagine anything involving the Broncos without Bo Nix as really being a great way to end the season. But there we are. There were 4. And by the way, listen, I don't want to kick the Bills fans when they were down. I was with you. I was pulling for you guys. I figured you'd suffered enough. But I don't want to hear any more talk about Josh Allen being the best quarterback, because Josh Allen had a path paved for him. And I know we talk about it's a team sport. Well, listen, they win that game if he doesn't turn the football over 4 times. And the play that you just mentioned, Michael, at the end of the second half, or in the first half, I should say, which turned a 7-point lead into a 10-point lead. I mean, a close enough game, you knew that was going to make a difference. And then he had Dalton Knox wide open on what would have been one of the final plays of the fourth quarter and missed him. And then threw 3 picks. So I feel bad for Josh. He's a guy that's easy to cheer for. You love the Buffalo fans. But another playoff game where he was the second best quarterback on the field. And they're moving on. And then, of course, Connor, it cost McDermott his job today. I was a little caught off guard by that.
The GM's getting off easy here, Huss. You look at the Buffalo Bills roster, and you have one of the most talented, if not the most talented quarterback in the league in Josh Allen. And the pieces around him have just never really, they made the Stephon Diggs trade and got him that. The defense has never really been elite. It's always been kind of good, knocking on the door of elite, but not great. And the head coach, Shawn McDermott, who has taken them to all of these games throughout the years, they fire him, which to me wasn't too shocking. I feel like a lot of what you said there about, them having the path paved for them with no Mahomes this year and the game playing out the way it did. I'm not that shocked that McDermott was let go. I was just shocked that they didn't fully clean house and also take the GM with him. Back to the Broncos just for one moment, Huss. What is the strategic advantage for Shawn Payton to announce Bo Nix out that second? Because like you said, no one knew about it. The game was over. Bo Nix was fine. There was no play where it was like, oh, Bo Nix just fractured his ankle. Why not let the Patriots prepare for Bo Nix for 2 days, and then Wednesday's practice comes around and it's like, oh, Jared Stidham is out there. Why? Because Bo Nix fractured his ankle. Like that would, to me, for these coaches that try the gamesmanship and all of these things, for him to come up right away. Yeah, mental for the locker room, I think, is a big thing. Get
first
it out of the way.
Acknowledging it moving forward.
Yeah.
But I also think that there is a possibility that New England is already going to be making plans for their week in San Francisco and all of that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think just accepting it head on, announcing it going forward, let everyone write you off. It'll be the no one believes in us team going in with home field advantage and see what happens. Anyways, we'll get to this. We'll have plenty of time this week to kick these games around on the weekend.
I'll say this, we dump on all these coaches for not announcing injuries, Connor, all the time for fantasy and lying about it. And a guy comes out and tells the truth and just straight up isn't going to hide anything. And you're here calling him out. What are you doing, Connor? It was a great gesture. They're not going to be celebrating it. Come on. And we never even talked about the interception at the end with Cooks. I'll say at first, I thought it was a catch that he caught it and his knee was down. But when you watch the replay, he didn't have it, and he didn't complete the process of the catch, which is a dumb wording, but that's what the rule is. You have to finish it when you go to the ground. He didn't, and it bounced up, and the
ball never hit the ground. I mean, that would have been an incompletion, but because it never hit the ground, when finally someone had it, unfortunately for Josh Allen, it was the Denver Broncos.
And I saw a couple people saying, "Oh, the Devontae Adams one yesterday, where he caught the ball, ran." The guys, it was a different play. They were trying to take him, and he smartly put his knee down. It wasn't a guy going to the ground where you have to maintain possession through the catch. He had already caught it and became a runner. So, I thought it was a catch, maybe because I wanted the Bills to win, and
I'm the same with you. I would bet on the Bills. I was on them. I was looking for any way to believe that was a catch.
Yeah.
And as we saw it a couple more times, you can never say that he had full control and was on the ground, and that's why it didn't go. And you're right. Very, very different from the Devontae Adams play. Now, I got time for Buffalo fans being pissed off at a couple of the other calls, including the PI, especially considering some that weren't called the other way. But that always happens in pretty much any game.
It was great strategy by the Broncos. Huck it up and hope for a PI. It's the best play. I mean, especially in that situation. It's the best play. You throw it deep. People are saying maybe there should be a cap on yardage on PI like there is in college. I'm not sure, but I think it's never a bad play to throw it up, especially short, where the receiver has to go back and run into the DB and go, "Oh, you hit me." And then they throw the flag because they have to.
Let's just quickly hit the cool bet lines here. We got a national championship game tonight, lots of NHL, but the NFL lines are out. The Broncos Patriots game opened at 5.5 for New England. It's down to 4.5 right now. I doubt it gets lower than that, but again, that's sort of that Vegas zone that Bill Simmons always refers to, 4.5 to 5.5. That's probably where it's going to be all week. Broncos plus 205 on the money line to win. Patriots minus 250. And we got Seattle laying 2.5 at home against their arch rivals, the LA Rams, in the NFC Championship game. Rams plus 130 to win. Seahawks minus 154. I mentioned that national championship game tonight. Indiana looking to make history, being the first 16-0 team ever in college football. They're minus 333. Miami playing at home at the Orange Bowl, but there's going to be a ton of Hoosiers in that building, plus 250. Point spread tonight is 7.5. I'll be riding with Fernando Mendoza and the Indiana Hoosiers. And as far as the NHL goes, a bunch of early games today. We got the Caps and Avalanche are underway in the first period. We actually have one game that is already a final, now that I think about it. It was Carolina and Buffalo, and the Canes with a hard-fought 2-1 win over the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres now, they fall to 9 games above 500. They're basically right there in that second wild card, popping in and out. Coming up at 4, Pittsburgh and the Kraken in Seattle. Pittsburgh a minus 130 favorite. It's MLK Day in the States, so that's why we've got some earlier starts. Sharks in Florida. Panthers will finish up at home and then head here to Winnipeg for that game on Thursday night. Panthers minus 182, Sharks plus 153. Pick 'em between the Wild and Maple Leafs in Toronto, 6:30 start. Vegas is at home to the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers have been just getting waxed lately, losing by multiple goals in 5 straight games. I don't mind Vegas on the puck line, actually, for this one tonight at -1.5 at +115. Jets and Blackhawks will finish with New Jersey, Calgary. New Jersey is a slight favorite at -116. Calgary -101. Chris Kreider and Jacob Trouba welcome their old pals in the New York Rangers to Anaheim. The Ducks -135. Rangers struggling right now, +115. And then the Islanders and Canucks going at it on the West Coast. Canucks have lost 10 in a row. New York -139. Vancouver +118. Jets and Blackhawks has Winnipeg as a -141 favorite. The Blackhawks are +120 at home. But let's check in on some Jonathan Toews props for tonight. To score, +375. I will be on that. 29-1 for 2 goals. If you really want to be, if you really want to get a little ahead of yourself, wouldn't that be something? As far as just to get points today, Toews is +125 to get a point. Great value on Toews right now with these numbers. The numbers haven't caught up to the way he's playing, and the fact that he's now, as you mentioned, Remis, on the first power play.
Yeah.
So I think some nice value. I'll be getting a little piece of both of those tonight, but hopefully scoring the goal. Other Jets, though, to score tonight: Connor +143, Scheifele +169, Gabe Vilardi +225, Alex Iafallo +330, Josh Morrissey +520. How are you guys feeling about this game tonight?
I mean, what's Chicago right now? I mean, I know they've been struggling, but they just got Bedard back, and we heard earlier on the program that, you know, Bedard has come back, and maybe that's changed the way that they've played as a group. I don't know. The Jets, if that score held in the Toronto game 3-1, you'd be feeling awesome about where they're at right now. But that's just not the state of where they're at right now. So I don't know. I feel good about the Jets in this game. I'm honestly shocked that the number's as short as it is at -141, just given the fact that Jets have won or got 9 out of a possible last 10 points. And we heard earlier Chicago's struggling a little bit, but this will be an emotional game. I have no doubt in my mind that Chicago is going to be ready for it. They want to win this game as well, as much as the Jets do, because it's Toews' return and the building's going to be on fire. So yeah, maybe that's why the line's a little bit closer, but I think it's pretty accurate as to where the Jets are right now. And the Hawks, I think there's maybe a little bit more respect there, but maybe the market is thinking that they're going to come back to where they were pre-Bedard injury.
Reem?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be an emotional night at United Center. I see Roy Mack in chat is there. Says they're telling everyone to be ready. The Blackhawks, I don't know if you saw this, Huss, they're putting out social content right now with everyone just welcoming back Jonathan Toews, interviewing fans on the street, you know, thanking him for his contributions. And it was, again, great conversation with Jay, because the Blackhawks were nothing. Well, not, I don't say nothing before Toews and Kane, but they were not, you know, the beloved franchise in Chicago that they became after winning 3 Stanley Cups.
The Wolves at a time were basically outdrawing the Blackhawks. Like, I can remember going into the old ashtray there, the Rosemont Horizon. I think it's now called the Allstate Arena. And the Wolves were putting in 13,000 into the building, and then you'd look and there were 9,000 people in the United Center. And I went to a game. I was there for a football game, and there was a Sunday nighter. They were playing the Anaheim Ducks. This is before Toews and Kane and all that, so sort of like in the mid-aughts, I guess. And there couldn't have been 7,500 people in the building. And, I mean, those guys completely turned that franchise around. Toews, I mean, as Jay said, he'll always be the captain. And as I said, I think we'll see a lot of it on the TSN broadcast tonight, and really hoping we get the full tribute that they're going to be doing in between periods.
Yeah, TSN does a great job with that. Sometimes when you get on, you know, the national broadcast, they don't really have time to show. They've got to go to their own stuff, which we've seen with other teams before this season. But I imagine TSN, Sarah's there, to document for Runway, and she'll be on the broadcast. I'm sure they'll do a great job showing all of it. But I think the Jets, I think they're playing well. They should take this one. Be a lot of energy in the building. Toews scoring for sure. And then, no, not for sure, but you can totally see it happening. What a story that would be. And look, I don't watch a lot of TV shows these days because I'm watching so many games, but there's no better reality TV than with the NFL games I watched this weekend, especially the Bears and the Bills, and what we're going to watch tonight. It's incredible.
Listen, I'm not going to bet the Jets because that usually mushes them. I will be betting Toews props for tonight's game. And if you want a little 3-gamer over at CoolBet, I haven't sent this over to the guys for the combo cards, but I'll play this right now. Vegas minus 1.5 against Vegas minus 1.5 against Philly. Wild money line in Toronto. Islanders money line in Vancouver. Plus 609 right now, if you want to jump in on that. But fellas, great show today. We'll have a busy one tomorrow with the team back. Break down this one tonight. Get ready for the St. Louis Blues. They lost 5-0 in Edmonton last night. Binnington giving up 5 on 28 shots. How about the Oilers going back-to-back shutouts on the weekend? 6-0 and 5-0. So we've got the Blues tomorrow. Be a very busy show, and we'll have a full breakdown and reaction to Jonathan Toews' return to Chicago with the Winnipeg Jets. Keep your eyes out on the socials tomorrow for updates on the game tonight from Connor. And, of course, join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. to break it all down from tonight and get ready for a 7 o'clock puck drop. First time we've seen the Blues since the Manitoba Miracle last April right here in the Peg. Thanks to Jay Zawaski, Mike McIntyre, Connor, Michael Remis, and all of you for being a part of the show today. A huge thanks to all of our sponsors that make WST happen every day. That is going to do it for us, folks. We've got to get the podcast up. Enjoy tonight's game and join us tomorrow for the latest on the Jets. They try and get off to a good start this week and stack up some points and see if they can barge their way back into the playoff conversation with a few more to come. That's going to do it for us. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow on WST.
Oh, my God! Oh! Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for tuning in to Winnipeg Sports Talk Daily. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube and your favorite podcast feed at winnipegsportstalk.com.